So the internet really just went out. My internet went out. That's what happened. But we're back. And I gotta grab my snack. So we're not back. And, like, everything just shut down on me. I'm pretty pissed. Like, excuse me. Oh, goodness. That is so annoying. Bruh! Just stop being broken. Oh my goodness. Look how broken this is right now. I have no idea what's going on. God, and they don't fuck the screen every time. Why do it? How long is it? Nothing. Pisses me off. I'm pissed. Like, come on, bro. Jesus. Are you done pissing me off? No, you're not, are you? You're not done, are you? Bro, thing is definitely not done. Like, it's so annoying. In the middle of the stream. I didn't even get up to get my food without the internet going out. Like, why? Oh, I know why. Because we're living in a simulation. And people love to fudge with you when you live in a simulation, right? Like, what the hell? So I'm bent pissed. I'm bent pissed. No reason for it. Alright, we're back. God. Ugh. That really upsetted me.
I don't know what he's doing behind there.
So, yeah, just to recap. Because it canceled me out. It just shut me down for no reason. They've asked him to, he's put his books or his boxes of information in front of him. This is the Darrell Brooks trial. He put boxes in front of his face because he was upset and being ornery the whole time. He's been ornery since the get-go. So that's what he decided to do for whatever reason, was put those in front of his face. He's been throwing the headset. He got kicked out of the courtroom. That's why he's in another courtroom. So he's been throwing the headset around, not listening to the actual proceedings to figure out what he is legally allowed to do or not do. He doesn't really seem to care at all. He's been disrespectful, obviously, throughout the whole entire proceedings. And now they're asking him if he has any anything to add to the jury proceedings or the jury like paperwork, or if he wanted to redact anything or cancel anything out of that paperwork. So we'll see what his reaction is.
He has quieted down. I haven't heard him in a while. If you could move the second one because it can interfere with the microphone as well. And the third. Mr. Brooks, I'm going to ask you for a third time. Do you have any requests as it relates to the jury instructions? Any requests for instructions that aren't included that you believe should be included? Any edits or deletions from the packet that has been provided to you?
Why do you tell them to move my body?
Because I couldn't see you, sir.
Or what?
I've asked you twice now, and I'll ask you a third time. Do you have any requests as it relates to the jury instructions? Any additions?
He's more concerned about why they moved his shield from the world, why they moved his boxes. Oh my god, like this man is very like it is sad. He is fighting over the fact that they moved his boxes instead of answering the questions. That's bad.
Deletions, edits, or otherwise.
Hey man, you don't gotta talk to me like that.
What do you mean you don't gotta talk to me like that? What the what did she how did she's been respectful. You didn't answer the question. She restated the question. You don't want to be asked I guess he's probably referring to the fact that he was ignored, but you ignored her first by not answering the goddamn question.
Do you have any requests?
First of all,
related to the jury instructions, sir?
Man, yeah, I got requests. It ain't like they.
Bro, I can't. He's like, am I gonna die on this hill with my boxes, or am I gonna move on and prolong the seatings another way? And he's like, yeah, I got requests. Like all of a sudden, he's back in the streets.
They gonna be honored though, because
as it relates to the jury instruction.
Oh my god, they're not gonna be honored though. All right, that was the dinner bell. Hold on. I had to be careful about getting up because my internet is being ridiculous. Oh my god. Today is getting rough for me. Oh my goodness. I just spilled half of my food on the floor. Now I gotta clean it up. Can't just leave it there. Gosh. It's been a rough morning for me, folks. And I got up to do the reaction of the new Bleach, which I haven't even watched yet because of this. So that is the next video of the day, if anybody was wondering. We'll be doing the Bleach review after this. And then might get into COD a little bit later. The story campaign. I really wanted to get through the mission my one way, and I'm like stuck in my mind of like, I can't go further without just beating this for the stream. But at the same time, I want to beat the campaign. So we're going to give it a few more tries. With that, we're going to give it a few more tries with the way I want to do it, and then we're just going to beat the campaign.
Sir, what are your...
I heard what the hell you said, man.
Oh! Holy sugar balls! Whoa, bruh! Bruh. This guy just goes, this guy is on something, bro. Like, bro, I gotta pull that one back. What? What even happened?
For jury instructions, or in your review, you think anything needs to be changed, deleted, added, etc. I know I'd ask that it be put in writing, but I'll also give you this opportunity to verbally advise the court and make your requests. Do you have any requests as it relates to the jury instructions, sir?
What?
I I would note he
Oh.
put 2 boxes right
Oh,
in
I
front
pulled
of
it
where
back.
he's
I pulled it
seated,
back.
so
I forgot I pulled it back. I forgot I pulled it back for a second, so I thought he put the boxes back in front of him. That would have been funny. That would have been funny.
can't presently see his face. I see his jacket is off because I can see the outline of his arm.
Alright, we're gonna...
As it relates to the jury instructions, I'll unmute you for that answer.
I can't hear everything you're saying.
Whoa! Okay, so... I'm sorry, I shouldn't have pulled it,
Jury
but
instructions.
I want to
Any
hear this
requests
outburst.
for instructions that aren't included that you believe should be included, any edits or deletions from the packet that has been provided to you.
Hey, why do you tell them to move my body?
Because I couldn't see you, sir.
Or what?
I've asked you twice now, and I'll ask you a third time. Do you have any requests as it relates to the jury instructions? Any additions, deletions, edits, or
Hey
otherwise?
man, you don't gotta talk to me like that.
What does that mean? What? Talk to him like
Do you have any
what?
requests
First of all,
related
what?
to the jury instructions, sir?
She just ignores that, which is a good thing to do, honestly.
Yeah, I got requests. It ain't like they gonna be honored though, cause
As it
nothing
relates
I've
to
been
the
trying
jury
to get done
instructions,
is-
sir, what are your...
I heard what the hell you said, man.
Well, Mr. Brooks, that was...
Jeez, bruh. I heard what the hell you said, man. Bruh, nuts. Nutty buddy, right? He's nutty, right? Excuse me, game. Sorry. I want to set this up right. Why are you... So annoying. What are you doing? God. Okay, I want you to be you. And to change that, Yugi. Shit. I guess Poophead. I honestly don't even know what the fuck I'm doing, to be honest, in this game. But, we'll do versus.
was very disrespectful.
She just...
Yeah, and I've been getting disrespected since the beginning of this whole process. So welcome to the club.
Mr. Brooks,
Bruh, that's interesting. So, welcome to the club.
do you have any
I'm
requests?
tired of my race being trampled on here too. I'm tired of it too.
Do you have any requests as it relates to the jury instructions?
Ain't nobody understand why I'm frustrated. How you gonna sit up here and make decisions based on what you think I said when I didn't get consent for you to do any such thing?
Sir, I understand you may be upset, and I really do,
No, you
but
don't
I've made my
understand nothing.
determinations.
You don't understand nothing. You don't understand anything, Your Honor. You don't. Because
I'm going to mute him again because he's not answering the questions that I'm very clearly asking him, and I've given him 5 opportunities. Mr. Brooks,
There's an interesting thing he's trying to say. I don't think he really articulated it very well, but I think he's trying to say that he feels that he hasn't been represented in the way he wanted to be represented, and that should be his right because he's an American, or he's a sovereign citizen, I guess. And he should be able to present how he wants to present it, and they shouldn't necessarily take that away from him. And that's an interesting idea. I don't really know, because obviously there's been years and years of law makings and things that have been practiced, and because of that, there have been situations that have already been handled in the past, and because of that, there are laws that are surrounding those situations, and they bar people from doing stuff like this. Now, is that morally okay? I'm not sure. I'm not one to really say. I'm just one to like follow it. I feel like it's not necessarily negative or positive. It's just the way that our system runs. And if you want to have a chance, I think to show your side of events or say how you want to say it, you probably should go through the right channels to do that, you know? I don't know.
Do you have any requests as it relates to the jury instructions? I'll unmute you for that answer.
I can't hear everything you're saying.
You got muted pretty quick. I can't hear everything you're saying. I can't hear everything you're saying. So put on the headset that you were given. Excuse me, but every problem that he has like argued besides that last one, he has made his own issue.
Mr. Brooks, I know the audio is turned up. I believe you can hear me. You've chosen not to put the headphones on. That's your choice.
Right.
My final question to you, do you have any requests as it relates to the jury instructions?
I just told you, am I muted? Am I muted?
No.
I just told you, I don't know how many times, I can't hear everything you said.
Then you should put the headphones on.
Don't you understand? What about that don't you understand? If you see headphones, you can see everything. You can see boxes, but then you see headphones.
Have you asked for headphones to be provided, sir?
I should have to ask for them. I asked for my boxes to be moved.
I believe they took them away previously because you were so agitated they were perhaps afraid you might break
Yeah,
them.
I'm still agitated. I ain't gonna stop being agitated. That ain't gonna stop. You sit up here and do everything you're doing and think God don't see what you're doing?
That's an interesting point. Everybody has their own beliefs, but I believe that we're all watching and we all can make our own determination for what you see in front of you. But as a person who tries to see all sides of a situation, I can say from my perspective that I think that he has a point, but it's not this judge's fault for the problem that he thinks he's having or the problem that he feels he's having. It's not her fault. It's the justice system's fault. It's the whole entire hundreds and hundreds of years of this system being in play. And through those hundreds of years, different laws have been created to try to create the best system as possible. And for, you know, he's obviously got to be a little bit narcissistic to be able to think that, or not to think that all of that is there, like all that work and all of that effort has been done in the past by hundreds and hundreds of people, and for him to, like, you know, not acknowledge any of that is pretty narcissistic in my opinion. But at the same time, the point is there that he hasn't been allowed to say what he wants to say because it's not in the proper channels of the law that has been given forth. Now, to bring God into it, I think that's a scare tactic to try to get what he wants said. He's trying to, like, you know, make her think about her decisions, I think. And it's really all that he just keeps pulling out these cards left and right of, he's obviously a sinking ship that is already more than half of its bow under the water.
You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Mr. Brooks, do you have any requests as it relates to the jury instructions?
Yeah, I can hear what you're saying. I can hear what you're saying.
You just told me you didn't. So which one is
Yeah, I
it?
got the headphones on. You can't see that?
What are your requests as it relates? What are your requests as it relates to the jury instructions, sir?
Man, don't try to come with this whole little sir. Now it's all this sir and all this. I'm gonna get where I'm going.
What? I'm gonna get where I'm
Put
going.
on this little act like you so worried about what's going on with me. You don't give a damn. Never did.
Mr. Brooks, you're being disrespectful again.
Yeah, I'd say that is a bit disrespectful. I mean, he has the right to speak his opinion, but she has the right to say that that's disrespectful, especially if she did care about his situation. You know, it's probably pretty hard to sympathize with somebody who has gone and injured so many people and to the point where they've lost their lives. But clearly she has some kind of human caring inside of her to be able to talk to a man who's screaming at her like this. You know? I don't know. She seems like a good person.
You've been being disrespectful. You've been being disrespectful.
And how, you know, that's an interesting thing. He keeps asking her to explain all of this crap, all that, all this, all that. But you keep making these one-off statements that that aren't explaining. How is she being disrespectful? I would love to know how she's being disrespectful to you. I would love to know. And if you're just gonna say shit like, "Oh, you're not giving me the rights," bruh, you took those rights away. You decided to be your own law or your own lawyer, and you didn't even read what you need to do or like the things that need to happen for you to succeed in, even try to succeed in a case. Like, come on, man.
I need to know what your position is regarding the jury instructions. And I need to know it now.
What you mean? Who you talking to?
I'm talking to you. I need to know.
Who do you think you're talking to? He has lost it. At this point, he's gone. He's not there. Like I said at the very beginning, it's just a downhill slope from that very beginning spot where he didn't get what he wanted. And it's not getting any better. That's for sure.
Whether you have any requests as it relates to the jury instructions, sir.
Yeah, first of all, why am I charged with 2 bail jumpings when I was already charged in Milwaukee for the same bail jumping? That's double jeopardy.
It's not double jeopardy. Your objection is noted. It's overruled.
It is double jeopardy. How you gonna charge me with the same charge that I'm already charged with? You can't do that.
So, again, if he commits 2 different crimes, but they're the same, or if he commits 2 different crimes two different crimes, there's going to be probably 2 judgments of those crimes, and they might have the exact same outcome as your consequence for that crime. That doesn't mean it's double jeopardy. It just means that you did 2 things that were separate events.
The Fifth Amendment says that you can't place somebody in jeopardy of life and limb. Twice. I'm already charged with the same count in Milwaukee. For the same case. It's the same bail jumping charge. So how am I charged with that here?
Sir, I'm not going to provide a legal explanation other than to say I've reviewed that. Your objection is noted, but the jury will be instructed regarding the bail jumping.
It can't be because that's double jeopardy.
Bail
Under
jumping.
The law, if two charges are identical in nature.
So it sounds like I was a little bit wrong. Sounds like they did charge him on the same charge, but it sounds like he might have done something that made it so he could legally be charged for the same charge in a different jurisdiction, because it sounds like he jumped bail and didn't pay his bail. So therefore they charged him again in a different county. I'm not exactly sure, but sounds like that. I'm not sure.
You cannot place me in jeopardy of life and limb twice. You can't do that.
What's your next?
The same case number.
What's your next request, sir? I'm noting your objection.
I'm trying to talk. Can I get it out? You always want me to not interrupt you, but you always find a way to talk over me.
Because you've already said what you're saying. You know? You've already said, you're rehashing the exact same thing that she just answered. You're frustrated and you're just saying the same thing over again. She's trying to move on.
I understand your position. I'm saying it's
You
overruled.
always want respect. You always want respect, but don't want to give it.
And then she goes into saying that you're interrupting, and then he interrupts her, and all she said is, I get what you're saying, but it's overruled, and he tried to interrupt that.
I'm charged with the same bail jumping charge here that I've already been charged with. That is double jeopardy. You can't charge me for the same exact bail jumping that I'm already charged with, that I was charged with before this even came about.
Sir, the bail jumping charges in Waukesha County are based upon your violating your bail while in Waukesha County by driving through the Christmas parade and allegedly killing 6 people and injuring 61 others.
Okay.
That's the distinction.
Okay, I gotta pull that back because I want to know exactly what that she was saying there.
You can't do that. The Fifth Amendment says that you can't place somebody in jeopardy of life and limb. Twice. I'm already charged with the same count in Milwaukee. For the same case. It's the same bail jumping charge. So how am I charged with that here?
Sir, I'm not going to provide a legal explanation other than to say I've reviewed that. Your objection is noted, but the jury will be instructed regarding the bail jumping.
It can't be because that's double jeopardy. Under the law, if two charges are identical in nature, you cannot place me in jeopardy of life and limb twice. You can't do that.
What's your next?
The same case number.
What's your next request, sir? I'm noting your objection.
Okay, I missed it because I got distracted.
You don't give a damn. Never did.
Mr. Brooks, you're being disrespectful again.
Okay, wait, I might have gone.
You cannot place me in jeopardy of life. So you can't essentially say, oh, well, again, there is no distinction. It's the same charge.
It's the same offense. It doesn't mean.
You can't do that. The Fifth Amendment says that you can't place somebody in jeopardy of life and limb. Twice. I'm already charged with the same count in Milwaukee. For the same case. It's the same bail jumping charge. So how am I charged with that here?
Sir, I'm not going to provide a legal explanation other than to say I've reviewed that. Your objection is
I want to know, that's why.
noted, but the jury will be instructed regarding the bail jumping.
Okay.
It can't be because that's double jeopardy. Under the law, if two charges are identical in nature, you cannot place me in jeopardy of life and limb twice. You can't do that.
What's your next?
So, why couldn't they count him with life and limb like 71 times? I don't know.
What's your next request, sir? I'm noting your objection.
I'm trying to talk. Can I get it out? You always want me to not interrupt you, but you always find a way to talk over me.
I understand your position. I'm saying it's overruled.
You always want respect. You always want respect, but don't want to give it. I'm charged with the same bail jumping charge here that I've already been charged with. That is double jeopardy. You can't charge me for the same exact bail jumping that I'm already charged with, that I was charged with before this even came about.
Sir, the bail jumping charges in Waukesha County are based upon your violating your bail while in Waukesha County by driving through the Christmas parade and allegedly killing 6 people and injuring 61 others.
Okay.
That's the distinction.
Again,
So
again, there is no.
it sounds like what he's saying is he jumped bail, but is already charged for jumping bail. I'm not exactly sure because I don't know the case fully, but I don't know. That's interesting.
Distinction. It's the same charge.
It's the same offense. It doesn't mean it's the same factual basis, sir.
Actual basis. It's the same offense. Factual basis. That's an interesting. Is she saying that it's like I had already said, it's a different incident, but the same incident? Or is it because it was, I don't know. That's interesting.
It is.
With bail jumping with the data violation of November 21 in Milwaukee County.
Wait, whoa. She just stepped in. She's like, okay, I'm stepping in. Whoa.
Reviewed that. Your objection is noted, but the jury will be instructed regarding the bail jumping.
It can't be because that's double jeopardy. Under the law, if two charges are identical in nature, you cannot place me in jeopardy of life and limb twice. You can't do that.
What's your next?
The same case number.
What's your next request, sir? I'm noting your objection.
I'm trying to talk. Can I get it out? You always want me to not interrupt you, but you always find a way to talk over me.
It's interesting because how it's pronounced or how it's sounding right now, it sounds like he's in double jeopardy. But I want to hear how this plays out.
I understand your position. I'm saying it's overruled.
You always want respect. You always want respect, but don't want to give it. I'm charged with the same bail jumping charge here that I've already been charged with. That is double jeopardy. You can't charge me for the same exact bail jumping that I'm already charged with, that I was charged with before this even came about.
Okay,
Sir, the bail jumping charges.
So he just threw himself under the bus. Basically, it sounds like that's exactly what I was saying. Well, not exactly what I was saying, but same idea. It sounds like he was charged with bail jumping, and then because he was charged with bail jumping, he got pissed off and drove over 70 people, and then they charged him again with bail jumping for bail jumping. I'm not exactly sure, but he was already charged before he committed the crime. So it's the same scenario charge, but it's charged differently because the scenario changed. The facts changed, the facts of the case changed. I don't know exactly how he bail jumped the first time or like what the charge was the first time, but if I have it correctly, the fact of the matter is it would be the same bail jumping, but he bail jumped twice, maybe. I'm not sure. If he bail jumped twice, then obviously it would be a different charge. So I'm not exactly sure how that would work if he only bail jumped once, but that happened before the incident, and he got charged with it before the incident occurred. He might, yes, okay. So what it sounds like is he bail jumped. They charged him, probably put out a warrant for his arrest, and then he ran over a bunch of people, and then this county where it happened probably charged him again with the same bail jumping, but if that makes sense, I think that would be in the clear for a new charge, because I'm not exactly sure though. Because I'm not sure. That's interesting. I'm not sure, man. That's weird.
In Waukesha County are based upon your violating your bail while in Waukesha County by driving through the Christmas parade and allegedly killing 6 people and injuring 61 others.
Okay.
That's the
Okay. So there we go. I should have just played it a little bit longer. It sounds like it's the same charge of bail jumping, but they added a different situation behind it. So probably the county he was in or whatever, they charge him with bail jumping, period. You jump bail, you didn't pay your thing, you have a warrant for your arrest. And then this other county, he drove over these people, and then they charged him with he jumped bail, and they wrote in that he ran over these people, and that's a violation of his bail. So therefore, technically it's a different charge because he was in violation for a different violation of his bail besides bailing on his bail or jumping his bail. Which makes sense. That would make sense. It's the same charge, but different charges of the same charge. What I just said, hopefully made sense. So yeah, that makes sense.
Distinction.
Again, there is no distinction. It's the
There is a
same charge.
distinction. Two people charge you with two different crimes. The crime of jumping bail, and then the crime of jumping bail and I'm not even sure what jumping bail is. So that could be totally, I'm thinking that he just didn't pay on his bail, but it actually might be that he defaulted on his rules on the bail. But either way, if it is a different charge, it would have been two different rules that he broke. So therefore, it's the same charge for the bail jumping, but the reason the charge is there is for two different reasons he broke it. Which is perfectly in the law of reason of charging him twice for the same charge.
It's the same offense. It doesn't mean it's the same factual basis, sir.
He is not charged with bail jumping with the data violation of November 21, 21 in Milwaukee County anywhere. Further, the double jeopardy prohibition would prevent him from being convicted twice, not charged twice.
Huh. Convicted twice, not charged twice. Right, okay. So that makes even more sense. Basically, yeah, which totally makes sense. I mean, two counties, two different police stations, how are they they might not be able to coordinate that that this charge was there or already been taken out. If they hadn't made that in communication, there would be two charges, but you can't be convicted for those two charges or for the same charge. But again, I don't know if that goes into the factor of the matter where I just said that he did two different things to break those bails. Wouldn't that create two different charges?
All right, so we've addressed
And two
that, sir.
different
What other
verdicts.
requests do you have as it relates to the jury instructions?
I want to know why I'm even charged twice with the same thing.
It hurts my head. This man hurts my head.
You can't charge me in pursuant to a case in Milwaukee that I'm already charged with bail jumping for. I'm already charged with bail jumping for that already. So you can't essentially say, oh, well, because you were already on bail, we're going to charge you.
It's a different data violation, sir. The conduct for the bail jumping is related to the allegation that you committed a new crime in Waukesha County while out on bond from the Milwaukee County case.
Yeah, but
Wait, one more time, just because.
we're going to charge you.
It's a different data violation, sir.
Different date of violation. So, I think I was right.
The conduct for the bail jumping
The conduct for the bail jump
is related to the allegation
is related to the allegation.
that you committed a new crime in Waukesha County while out on bond from the Milwaukee County case.
So, I don't think she's establishing the difference here, but she's reiterating the fact that the charge is in this county and not the county of the other charge. So I'm speculating, but I'm pretty sure that he was charged in two different counties for the same crime, but based on two different events of another crime that he did while he was on bond. Those are two different charges because there were two different crimes that broke his bond.
Yeah, but I'm referring to the first bail jumping count. The first. I'm not referring to both of them. I'm referring to one of them.
My understanding, sir, is there's different dates of violations as it relates to that. So I've noted your objection now repeatedly. I understand it. Your request to,
I don't think he understands. I really don't. I mean, I don't think he's smart enough to really
dismiss
understand.
the bail jumping counts are denied.
I didn't say nothing about count. I said one.
Whether it's one count or both, it's denied.
Am I not being understood? You can't charge me with the same charge twice. You can't.
It's two separate cases, sir. There's two.
Is it that 971.23? Is it that the statute that refers to the?
Bro, he is just prolonging as much as he can. I don't think the judge at this point should grant him what he wants right here, but I think she might.
All right, sir, I'm not going to have an argument.
Right,
this isn't fruitful. I understand what you're saying. You're saying there shouldn't be two counts of bail jumping. You believe it's double jeopardy. I disagree with that. They're separate.
I'm already charged with it, though.
This is a circular argument, sir. It doesn't change the fact that, from my perspective, the two bail jumping counts are going to proceed forward. There's been sufficient evidence presented to warrant the jury being instructed.
They can.
And they will.
What other requests do you have?
They
sir?
can and they will.
Don't talk over me. Just like you don't want me to talk over you.
No shit, she doesn't want you to talk over you. It's disrespectful. And she can talk over you because it's her courtroom, first of all. Second of all, you're just rehashing the same thing said over again. She has the same response.
Talk over you.
Mr. Brooks, what other requests do you have?
And I just asked you not to talk over me.
Yes, and I'm pretty sure that she asked you not to talk over her multiple times. And guess what? You did. So what does that make it right for her to not be able to talk over you, but you can talk over her? See, this is narcissism at its core. At its core. Man.
You've been making your record the whole time you've been over there. You had me muted.
Oh my goodness.
I didn't see no requests over there. I didn't write nothing to go over there. I let you do what you was doing. No matter how egregious and biased it is, I let you do what you was doing.
No, you didn't. That's a lie.
Because we both know that what you're doing is not right.
Mr. Brooks, I'm going to refocus your attention to the jury instructions. All of your objections are noted. I understand that. If you can't answer my question, I'm going to move on.
You can't. I haven't given you consent.
All right, I'm going to mute him once again. He refuses to answer simple questions regarding if he has any requests. He just made an argument regarding...
I do understand that she's saying that, but he did make a request. Obviously it was denied, and now he's arguing it. So yeah, she's not in the wrong. No.
Regarding the bail jumping, so clearly he has an understanding about the law as it relates to that. It may be a misunderstanding about the law and double jeopardy, but he made an argument. I've denied it. I'd like to know if he has any other requests. If he can stay on topic, I'll I will unmute him again, and he can tell me the list, just like the state went through a list. I need to get through their list. I'm asking you to list out all your requests, and then I will take each one up in turn. So here is your opportunity to give me your other requests, not debate with me about prior rulings. Go ahead, Mr. Brooks.
Don't sit up here and try to play no game talking about you giving somebody an opportunity. That you haven't gave me an opportunity to properly defend myself.
He definitely is not going to answer the question. He's
Which
definitely not
I
answering
what
it.
We need to do before we even got to the class. You told
I
me
want to
you
do something
wasn't
about
in
that. He's not answering your question.
phase.
Mr. Brooks, do you have any other requests as it relates to the jury instructions? This is probably the 10th or so time I've asked you this question.
No, it's not. No, it's not. So please stop being incorrect, Your Honor. Please stop.
What?
Do you have any additional
Did you really
requests?
just argue how many times she said? I feel like he really just argued that.
It relates to the jury instructions.
Yeah.
Oh.
That first count 74 bill jumping needs to be dismissed. You can't charge me with two things. You can't charge me with the same charge twice.
Okay,
All right, I've made a note of that.
we've made a note
What's
of
the
that.
next issue?
Either one county gonna charge me with it or y'all, but it can't be both. It's the same, it's pursuant to the same exact thing that I was gonna bill for. The same exact thing, the same exact case. So why are we giving the jury instructions on two cases from another county?
I've made a note of that. What other requests do you have?
Man, this is ridiculous. So I'm not even able to adequately defend myself, present evidence, do anything, because everything I say is gonna be found a reason for it not to be valid. What are we doing here, Your Honor? What is the
Mr. Brooks.
Oh my God. This man, he has put himself in his own hole and then is trying to, like, make it look like that the people that he has not cooperated with are the reason that he is in the situation he's in. But in the fact of the matter is, it's his own issue from the fact that he wasn't cooperating to begin with.
Why should I be here when
I've made a note of your request as to count 74. Do you have any other requests as it relates to the jury instructions?
Why are we even having jury instructions? Why do I have to even sit here in this courtroom at this point? Because everything you've been doing without my consent anyway, so you're gonna find a way to do this without my consent. So why do I need to be here for?
Your objection for lack of consent is noted for the record.
Okay, yeah.
Any other requests, sir?
You talk a good game. You talk a good game to save yourself enough space. But everything I put together, it has no merit in your court. None.
All right, I've asked him many times. I've advised him, and I'll advise him once again. If he fails to answer the question, I'm moving on. Do you have any other requests as it relates to the jury instructions, sir?
You can't move on because I haven't given you consent to it.
All right, he did not answer. So I'm muting him again. The only request that he has made as it relates to the jury instructions, as he pounded his fist once again, raised his voice. I understand, I really do, that he's upset with my decision to cut off his ability to present a defense, but that decision was made based on his conduct and his conduct alone, as I've outlined already on the record.
And just for another thing is, he will have the opportunity, which is not going to go well for him because of how he's acting in the courtroom right now. But he will have an opportunity to dispute everything that he's talking about right now in the courtroom. He's just not disputing it in the right channels. It's called an appeal, and you can appeal and try to dispute that in the right channels of what she's saying. But at this point, you have no say or right in the American justice system to argue or change the judgment of a judge on a ruling in a case, or on, you know, what if she's allowing it or not in the case, you know? Like, that's kind of common knowledge as an American, I would feel like. I'm not in the justice system, and I know that for myself.
Was as it relates to the bail jumping counts, I'm denying those requests, whether it be to dismiss one count or to dismiss both on double jeopardy, or to just not instruct the jury. However way I interpret it, I'm denying that. All right, let me go through the state's...
Your Honor, can I add one more?
Sure.
I'm sorry. 154, summary of evidence. I believe we had a map, actually two maps that summarize the, we had three maps. I think the one was summarized his route, the path that he took. The other one summarized the victims who were struck in the specific locations. And the other one summarized the positions of the law enforcement officers at the various intersections and throughout the parade routes.
No.
I'll make a note of that. I don't believe I saw the jury view instruction either. I mean, that was given to them at the time. I don't know that it needs to be reread, but I think we need to consider that as well. And that was my version of 152. All right, so let me go through the list from the state. Turning to page 61. So I've considered the request by the state. I am going to rely on what information they put in the charging document. I'm going to deny the request to include the specific case numbers. There's evidence, of course, that was received regarding the 2 separate cases out of Milwaukee County that form the basis for both of the bail jumping counts. It will be up to the jury to review the evidence and make a determination as to the verdict forms, though, that were referenced previously, at least the description of them in the jury instructions, that obviously the third count of bail jumping is incorrect. That needs to be battery, and that change will be made. I'm also having Madam Clerk include all of the numbers for the jury instructions when they go back, so it's very clear. I will take, I believe it's appropriate given the testimony in this case. Do you have any position on that, sir? You are unmuted, so you can simply answer yes or no.
See how that goes.
No response. Then 172,
No
circumstantial
response.
evidence, flight.
Like I said, he's shut down, he's
I
done.
believe is appropriate given the evidence that has been
That's
received
kind of the-
during this case.
Oh, he said-
Yes, sir?
Am I unmuted?
You have been.
Am I unmuted?
You are.
So how long before you mute? As soon as I say something?
How long before you mute me?
Depends on what you say, how you say it, and if it's responsive to what we're doing.
Why do I have to be responsive to what you guys are doing?
Because you're in a
Nothing
courtroom.
I say even matters. At this
Jesus
point. So what's the point of you
Christ.
being responsive? You can't make decisions for me.
Mr. Brooks, I'm going to mute you unless you can participate in what we're doing, which is discussing the jury instructions.
I'm gonna tell the jury the truth. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna tell them what hasn't been told to me. I haven't been able
Mr.
to
Brooks, as
present
I'm going to
evidence.
mute you because we're trying to discuss the jury instructions, not what you're going to say during your closing argument. I will get to that later. In terms of instruction 172, I'll instruct Madam Clerk to take out of the heading the word escape. Should just say flight concealment.
Escape, flight, concealment. Flight, escape, flight, escape, concealment. I think that would be it.
And then I've reviewed 154. I believe that's appropriate. I'm going to pull it up just as a draft. I'm not sure if there's anything that needs to be.
Jeez. Just doing that.
Only way for me to
Instruction responding to the
As you
question.
can see, he has had enough. He wants to go back to his cell.
I believe that covers all of the issues that were raised by the parties then. You are. I'll give you one final opportunity to tell me if you have any requests as it relates to the jury instructions, sir.
What you mean you giving me one final thing? I didn't consent to nothing that y'all been talking about. And I say y'all because I haven't been participating in none of that.
I understand, sir. Your objections noted. Your lack of consent is noted.
Okay, I don't see what's going on in there. So how's decisions being made without me being able to consent to it?
Sir, you forfeited your right to be present in this courtroom by your conduct, and you have not
Well,
requested to come back.
Actually, you took a break. So let's make sure the record is correct.
And he hasn't even
break.
asked to come back yet.
I did.
At which time I was brought back into this courtroom.
I was advised you wanted to stay, sir.
Okay, and you've been forcing me to come over here from the get-go. Why couldn't you force me to come back over here where I'm supposed to be at?
Sir, my understanding is you requested to stay in the other courtroom. I thought I put that on the record at the beginning. If I did not, I'll make that part of the record now. I was advised by the bailiffs that you were requesting to stay in that courtroom. I certainly advised you prior to that if there was a time you wanted to come back in, All you needed to do was ask. You've done that previously.
Yeah, but
And even during this time, though, you've been incredibly disruptive. At one point you were muted for an extended period of time and you were yelling so loud, sir. We could hear you in this courtroom. I couldn't decipher what you were saying, and I was also made aware that another branch could hear you. So you continued your disruptive behavior.
That's fine, because at the end of the day, I should be heard. I have the First Amendment right to be heard.
It's not fine.
So if I'm going to be constantly muted, the only way for me to be heard is for me to raise my voice.
Mr. Brooks, one final time, do you have any requests as it relates to the jury instructions? Otherwise, I'm going to approve them. I'm going to take a break, and then we'll come back in the afternoon to go over verdict forms.
I didn't answer yes or no, so how do you consent to anything without me answering the question?
Are you going to answer the question, sir?
But you can't force me to do it. You can't just say, I'm going to do this. Because
sir, but you also can't stall the proceedings by failing to answer.
I didn't try to stall the proceedings. You're the one that held me in contempt.
I never held you in contempt. All right, I'm going to mute him once again because he refuses to answer a very simple question about whether he has any requests as it relates to the jury instructions. I will work on making all the changes with Madam Clerk, finalizing the order, print them off again.
So I think that's it. Yep, that's it. They're just going to rehash it. Looks like they bring it back to the beginning. Or maybe he's back in the courtroom. Is he back in the courtroom? I think he's back in the courtroom now, folks. Or they restarted it? Let me see. Did they restart? Because did he have a book in the beginning? No. So he's back in the courtroom. This is live. He's back in the courtroom. We are live now. I just wanted to catch up, get everything caught up with that. But now it is live, so I can't skip through any of these slow parts. So that's a thing. Yeah, so while we're waiting, we'll just go into, like, I wish I had some comments here so we could have a discussion about Darrell Brooks and just the conduct that he has decided to portray in this case. And what people think about that is that, I mean, obviously, my guess is the majority of people are going to see it as not working in his favor at all, I would say. It's not going to work in his favor, and it's disrespectful, in my opinion. For the most part, he's being disrespectful. I can see that he has some points that he's trying to make. Again, I'm not a law expert by any means, and I can safely say that he knows less than me. And it shows greatly by how he presents himself, and definitely I would say one of the worst self-presentings that I've seen in a long time. They'll probably be talked about for a while. It looks like the judge has just entered the courtroom. As if you've never been in a courtroom, when a judge enters, you're supposed to stand. He obviously didn't stand because he's a disrespectful little shit.
All right, we are back on the record. It is 1:01 p.m. State versus Brooks. Appearances are as they were before. I would note I have instructed, and Mr. Brooks is present in this courtroom. Prior to I understand your objections noted. If you would like to go back to the other courtroom, sir, you may, but that is a choice that you would be making. I am not requiring you. I'm not forcing you at this time.
So you're not holding me in contempt?
Sir, I am not requiring you or
I wonder how long he's going to last in this, in there. That is nutty.
To go into the other courtroom, it is a...
So you going to address subject matter jurisdiction for the record, or are you going to state it on the record?
I'm declining to address that on the record for the reasons I've previously provided to you, not the least of which is I have addressed that by way of a written decision.
And it hasn't been proven for the record. You
Your
have to state
objection
it
is
on the
noted.
record. Can I go back in the other courtroom? Because I'm not going to do this with you. I'm not.
Mr. Brooks, I do want to go over
We don't
the
have.
jury instructions.
I don't understand the
verdicts.
jury instructions. I don't understand anything that's in these proceedings, and I'm not going to participate in something that I don't understand.
That's your choice, sir.
May I please go back into the other courtroom?
You can, based upon your choice and your request, I'll make a finding
now-
that he's
So this
forfeiting
is
his right to be present in
I
this-
didn't forfeit
courtroom.
anything. I asked.
I understand you've
So I
asked,
didn't-
but
I
I
didn't
feel it's
forfeit
important to
anything.
also make a finding based
So-
upon your conduct.
so
Based upon what conduct? Me asking?
no, the conduct is
Are
the
you
fact
willing to
that he's trying to take control of the
Expressly
situation.
waive that right
and
on the record
she
right
has-
now?
I'm not going to expressively waive anything.
Are you willing to
I'm making
engage in a colloquy regarding your right to
For
be
him,
present
I
and
do
a
not.
knowing and
To
intelligent
say
involuntary
I'm going
waiver
to
of
put
that
myself
right?
in the courtroom.
I am not
He's
going
putting
to consent to
power
anything that I
over
don't
her
understand, and I
and
will
allowing.
not answer any
He's saying
questions
that
I
I'm in
don't
control of the
understand. I'm
situation
merely
now,
making
putting
a
myself
request
in the other
to
room,
not be present
and that's
in
going to
these
give him
proceedings.
some kind of security.
And to be in the other courtroom.
Again, as I've stated numerous times now for the record, I will not answer or comply with anything I do not understand.
So maybe you should have understood
I'm not
before
making a
you
voluntary
decided to
waivery
be
of
your
anything.
own lawyer.
Are you willing to be, let me rephrase that. If I have you stay in this courtroom, are you willing to follow the rules of decorum and courtesy?
No, he's not.
I do not understand the question you are asking.
What do you mean you
Are
don't
you
understand?
willing
the question?
to not interrupt the proceedings with disruptive behavior?
I do not understand the questions that you are asking.
What do you fucking talk?
Well, given that he won't answer the questions directly, for now he is to remain in this courtroom.
I'm requesting to not be in this courtroom.
Deny his request.
But you won't go through, you won't answer my questions regarding that, sir.
I did. I told you I don't understand.
That's not answering the question, sir.
You asked me a question, I answered it. I don't understand. How can I answer something that I do not understand, Your Honor?
All right,
Where's this coming
let me
from?
start with
So he's taking a whole new route all of a
the
sudden.
jury
You
instruction.
gonna
There
start
is
with
one I would like
subject
to.
matter jurisdiction?
No, I've declined that already, sir. I'm not going to address
Under
that
what
further.
law? Under what lawful law?
There he goes
Sir,
again.
please do not interrupt me again with the topic of subject matter jurisdiction, or
And then he'll just be sent to the other room.
you
So
run
that's
the
his
risk
whole
of
point.
forfeiting your
He's
right
gonna
to
try
be
to get
present
sent to
in
the
this
other room now.
courtroom.
Then let me go in the other courtroom then.
Are you willing to engage in a discussion about that, sir? I need to make an appropriate record.
I just told you that I don't understand the questions you're asking. What do you want me to do? I can't answer something I don't understand.
He's being so ornery.
I believe you're choosing not to answer them,
You
sir.
can believe what you want to believe. I believe that you hiding stuff from the jury. I believe you haven't been impartial or fair. You haven't let me
She fell for that trap, hook, line, and sinker. That was his whole point, to get her to say that so he could say that.
even enter anything into evidence, which is my right to do so.
Your
But it
rights are
doesn't
not
matter what we
unfettered,
believe,
sir.
Your Honor. I'm merely stating a request to not be present for these proceedings. I cannot answer the
Sir,
questions you are asking me
It
because I
seems to
don't
me
understand them.
You understand your right to be present in the courtroom. Are you telling me you
I don't understand
that right?
anything. Nope. I don't understand. Nope.
Nope. All
Then
right.
you're gonna stay here.
Yeah, you don't understand, so I'm gonna decide for you. You're staying.
For now.
And under what lawful law?
Oh my
You
god.
can't force me to stay somewhere that I'm making a request not to. You can't make me understand.
Just let him go
You
into the
can't
other
make me.
room.
You can't force me to understand what I don't understand.
Just let him go to the other room.
You can't force
I
that.
understand that this right now is a power struggle between the judge and this man right here, and the fact that she's allowing him to have this power struggle is kind of a problem. I would say just the fact that he's power struggling.
I need to address one of the jury instructions, number 315.
So, Your Honor, I'm trying to make a request to not be present in these matters without disrupting the courtroom, as you say that I do, and over talking you, as you state that I do. I'm making a request merely to not be present for these proceedings. Obviously, I'm not needed because every decision that's been made here today has been made without my consent. That's clearly telling me that I'm not needed. I have never consented to anything that's going on here today. I haven't even been allowed to present any evidence, which is something that I stated weeks ago. Weeks. You already knew, Your Honor, that
It's interesting the way he's saying it. It's very much making it sound like he's a victim here. But the fact of the matter is that, again, I'm trying to reiterate this for everybody, that he chose to be his own lawyer. As a lawyer, you have to go to college for years and years and do a lot of studying to figure out all the laws and intricacies of lawyerism. I don't think that's a word, but you know what I mean. And he chose to take that stand without the information that he's arguing about right now. And it's all part of his defense to mitigate the fact that he, first of all, is a sovereign citizen, so he doesn't believe in the fact that the laws that are part of the American justice system, judicial system, is doesn't apply to him. But again, there are laws throughout the whole entire planet, which I believe they're like what the heck is it called? It's just like civilian, like there's laws for every civilian as a human being on the planet. So like you're not allowed to go and kill somebody even if you're a sovereign citizen, if that makes sense. You're not allowed to create harm to somebody else in any jurisdiction if you're a sovereign citizen or not. I believe the human right laws or something like, or a human whatever it is, like you have your, as a human being, you know, that's a right. You have the right to be alive. And if somebody takes that away from you in any jurisdiction, even if you're a sovereign citizen, that's against the law.
I wanted things to present into evidence. I've asked numerous times for that and have been denied. And I don't understand why I'm not being able to adequately defend myself.
In your words, you're not being allowed to adequately defend yourself.
Right, and I love how she said that, in your words. Right, and I just explained.
Based upon your conduct in this courtroom and throughout these proceedings, and your unwillingness to follow the simple rules of decorum, courtesy, procedure, rules of evidence. You refused to answer a variety of questions this morning when this court went through the or attempted to go through the colloquy with you regarding your right to testify and your right not to testify. And because of that, and based on the case law that I cited this morning, I made a finding that you forfeited your right to present further testimony and evidence through other witnesses, and then you forfeited your right to testify in your behalf. I'm not going to revisit those, sir.
I'm not asking you to revisit them, but I'm just, they weren't correct.
I understand you will.
Right.
Because I never consented to it and I never answered something.
I understand.
And I just stated the reason why I didn't answer, because I don't understand. You cannot force me to understand what you're asking me.
Sir, I could not even get through the advisement. You wouldn't even listen. You talked over me repeatedly.
Was that from the other courtroom or in here? Because I've been over there all morning.
To the place that you are requesting to go back to, right?
You sent me into the other courtroom.
You're right, I did.
Right. So I've been over there all morning.
With an adequate audio and visual system
I mean,
connecting the two courtrooms.
Your
the functional equivalent
to
of being
your
present in this
equivalent to
courtroom.
your equivalent is adequate, but to mine it's not. Seeing as how you always state Illinois versus Allen. You always state that. You always state that. But it never refers to a fourth option that you refer to. It never
Mr.
refers
Brooks, I'm not
to
going
that.
to debate this with you. If you continue to bring up subject matter jurisdiction, Illinois
I didn't
versus
bring up
Allen,
subject
the
matter
decisions that I
jurisdiction.
made earlier,
I'm trying to figure out
then
why I'm being
you
held in
are
contempt.
frustrating the
He's not in
purposes of this
contempt.
hearing
I'm trying to
right
figure out
now,
why I'm being held
which
in
is to
contempt.
finalize the
And
jury
then when
instruction and the verdict forms.
Your Honor, I'm merely trying to understand why when you hold me in contempt,
I never held you in contempt, sir.
you attempted to.
Nope.
You've never attempted to hold me in contempt.
No, sir. I'm not going to revisit all of these issues.
When I asked you where you hold
Are
me in
you
contempt,
going
you
to
said civil.
respect the decisions that I've made
They're
by
not
not interrupting
they're
me?
not correct decisions, Your Honor.
I understand that.
I can't answer. You asked me questions. You asked me questions. I didn't answer them based on my understanding. How can you force me to understand what you're asking me if I don't? And then you still make a finding based on that. How is that lawful law?
Mr. Brooks, I stand behind the record that I've made today.
And that's fine. I'm not
advising you
arguing
that
with
if
you
you
about what you
continue
ruled.
to talk
I'm saying,
over
how
me,
can you do that without my
If you
consent?
continue to raise issues that I've already
That's a violation.
Interesting. It's very interesting. To be honest, I'm very intrigued by what he just said. I'm gonna try to analyze it to see if there's, something else that he's going at here. But from what it just sounded like, it really did sound very honest in the sense that he didn't get to do what he wanted to do. Again, there are laws in place for these kind of proceedings to go smoothly and to go as quickly as possible, even though they go so slow it's ridiculous. I guess quickly as possible is not the right word. As thorough as possible. They do take forever. I think that he was waived as a sovereign citizen, which would have made the whole case incredibly difficult to deal with anyways if it was that, because there would have been all sorts of other laws that, it's just a whole headache probably. So I'm not sure, like, as an American, if I was sat up on a stage and I didn't understand what was going on and then they charged me with something that I did, but the proceedings of the court, I didn't understand why they charged me and how they got to that conclusion. I don't know, man. Like, at the end of the day, if you committed that crime, if you did those actions, then you're guilty, and doesn't matter what you say or do, or if your rights are being violated right now or not. The fact of the matter is that you committed a crime. I'm not saying that you did. Allegedly committed a crime, and I think that is what the main issue is in this courtroom, is the crime itself, and yet he decides to focus on all these other intricacies, and it makes me feel like that he's not being very honest about what he's saying, due to the fact if he really was innocent, it would be him trying to prove his innocence, not him trying to say that you're not treating me correctly. Again, I think that he does have some kind of intelligence here, with the fact that if you did commit this crime, it is an interesting way to go about it. Just because the fact of the matter is, in the long run, it is a possibility that something could happen where it is in question, what the validity of the crime and what happened and what he's saying here. If there was a scenario where he got away with it, I would say he's doing an actually interesting job at this point. And just by seeing other criminals and how they've acted and just watching other things, it's very interesting to see the approach he has committed to in here. And if people do believe him, it could create quite a scene in the judicial system.
Of my civil rights.
If you continue to raise these issues, sir, and thwart the purpose of this court, which is to finalize the jury instruction and the verdict forms, you will forfeit your right to be present in the courtroom, and you will appear from the other courtroom.
Okay.
Absent you, I know you've requested to be there.
I made a request the moment we walked in here to not be present for these proceedings, but yet
But you
still.
also won't have a dialogue with me about your understanding
Because
of what that
it's
means.
my Fifth Amendment right. I'm exercising my rights that I reserved from the moment we walked in here this morning. You can't force that. You can't force me to do anything, actually.
No, you're right, but I can make certain findings that you forfeit rights
You
that
can't
you have based upon your
based on
conduct.
what lawful law you're under.
I've cited the
Yeah, we've cited that multiple times that you've been disruptive, but I'm coming out of this with a new theory, with a new angle here. Imagine if from the minute he got in there, he's been doing this, and so he can actually have the argument where the judge was being disrespectful, didn't listen to what he said, didn't give him the opportunity to present himself. Obviously, on the other side of that is she did give him ample opportunity to present himself. He just didn't do it in the conventional way. So yeah, that's really interesting because it's not conventional, and that's really where we're stuck. I feel like right now in the trial is the fact that, and I have a problem with this as human beings. I have a problem with this. Is the conventionality of everything that we do. If something is not in that conventionality, it automatically is negative, looked down upon, criticized, pushed away, dealt with angrily, until that thing that was dealt that way comes to light as being the positive, it being the not proper, but what morally we as a human race have decided at the end of the day is actually morally correct. But before that moral correction stage, there's always this stage of humans arguing, fighting with each other. They're so right in their beliefs that they're going to argue, probably even to fight each other and to the death at sometimes of these beliefs. And with the judicial system, that is the highest of beliefs. Like they go in there knowing their beliefs, knowing their laws, and thinking that is almost the word of God, it feels like. And again, for me, looking at this as the standpoint that I see the world, it's interesting because, in my opinion, they're equals. The judge and this man are equals. They are equals. We're all equal. We all have the capability of being a judge or being this man here. We're equal. And I believe that the judge does not feel that they're equal. And I feel like this man doesn't feel like they're equal either. But I feel like that he might have come in to the situation feeling that there was an equal sense to everything in his mind, but once his ideas were told they're not okay, they're not right, that's not how we do things, you can't do it that way, that's where that equality changed, I believe. But I'm not sure he could have come into this already feeling having that combative attitude, combative state of mind coming into this. That's all speculation. But he does raise the question of the courtrooms and allowing people to state things. But that again creates the benefit of the doubt. If it is hearsay, there's no point in putting it in there. There's a lot of things around it. Obviously, she has gone into the points of why it wasn't allowed into evidence, and he's just saying, I don't care, this is my evidence, put it in anyways. Like, I wish I had somebody commenting, but like that, what do you think? Should you be allowed to put in evidence that is ridiculous and unclaimed, unfounded in a courtroom? And if there's good lawyers on both sides, wouldn't that finding just be thrown out anyways because it's found to be incorrect? Like, should we give the people the opportunity to do something like that? On the flip of that coin, that could cause a lot of situations where criminals get away with things because of what they're saying and doing. So it's hard.
Law this morning. All right, I am
Illinois versus Allen, right?
I am
that I can
on.
be present from another courtroom.
I need
if
to
I forfeit
discuss
my right.
Instruction 315.
Your Honor,
I
don't
believe some
understand.
language needs to be modified based upon the court's earlier ruling today.
I don't understand. I don't understand the proceedings. And I think that should be stated for the record. If I'm telling you repeatedly, Your Honor, that I don't understand. You can't force me to understand. That's a violation of my constitutional rights to try to force something upon me. That's coercion, Your Honor.
Mr. Brooks, I completely disagree with your characterization of the proceedings this morning. While it is true that you did not provide consent, you were entirely uncooperative with court this morning.
That's because I didn't understand. I'm explaining why, Your Honor. I'm not trying to leave it where it was at. I'm attempting to
answer the questions.
I'm attempting to
to
explain myself of why I did not answer. It was because the way that you're making it seem is that I intentionally didn't want to answer, and that's not fair.
I'm moving on to Instruction 315.
And I still don't understand. So how can we even proceed,
Mr. Brooks?
If I'm telling you I don't understand
what that I'm asking you to be?
No, I don't. No.
Okay, so I actually am going to agree with Brooks on this one. Just that's a Brooks win for me right there. Because and pull it back just because I don't want to totally agree.
Force me to understand.
But I think that was a Brooks win.
That's a violation of my constitutional rights to try to force something upon me. That's coercion, Your Honor.
Mr. Brooks, I completely disagree with your characterization of the proceedings this morning. While it is true that you did not provide consent, you were entirely uncooperative with court this morning.
That's because I didn't understand. I'm explaining why, Your Honor. I'm not trying to leave it where it was at. I'm attempting to
answer the questions.
I'm attempting to
ample opportunity to answer the questions. So, but how if somebody doesn't understand the question? Obviously, that's why we have the whole if he's mentally able to stand trial, that whole thing where they take it and they check to see if you're able to stand trial mentally. But again, I think Brooks is a win here because of the fact that he has pushed the judge, even if it's not in the right, he has pushed the judge to the point where she's actually arguing back at this point and actually giving him the time of day of what he's saying. And so therefore she's kind of fallen for his trap already. And so, I mean, it might be, I'm saying that as on the side of the judge. I'm saying this through the judge's eyes for her sake. I will restate it again in a second through his eyes. But again, he is obviously, she's making it, she obviously has become frustrated at this point, and that frustration is starting to show a little bit here. And that's a win for Brooks. Even if it's a small win, it is a win for him, I believe. Not that that's positive or good in any sense of the word. I just think that in this argument that he chose to take, it was a W for him.
So I'm going to
explain myself of why I did not answer. It was because the way that you're making it seem is that I intentionally didn't want to answer, and that's not fair.
I'm moving on to instruction 315.
And again, I think that what he is saying is true. That's the key here. What he is saying is true. Why she's not giving it the time of day is because she believes that he's saying that just to say it so he can circumvent the trial in his manner of way of doing it. And as a judge, that is the main thing that she's probably looking out for at this moment is to try to get back on track and to catch if there is any sort of manipulation going on by Brooks's part in this moment. And I think that she comes to the conclusion pretty quickly that he is manipulating, and there is no way. This is the part where Brooks wins. There is no way for the judge to know if he's telling the truth or not. It's only speculation that he does know or doesn't know based on what he's said in the past and how he's conducted himself in the courtroom. It would seem that he's smart enough to understand the question, but it is also a possibility that he does not understand the question, and therefore what the judge is doing in this instant would be completely and utterly it wouldn't be wrong necessarily, because I don't think there's any laws around that right this minute. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But in the eyes of morality, I feel like that is wrong for any person not to allow, like what he's saying is spot on. You know, I don't understand if it's true. I don't understand, but you're making me feel this way. It would be like, I'm sorry, this is the first thing that came to mind, but it would be like back in the 1950s or 40s or whenever slavery was. I'm not exactly. It was 19. That's just way off. 1840s, 1850s. Sorry. Slavery was big thing, and just imagine you take a slave person who has committed a crime. We'll say he committed the crime, okay? We're just going to say he committed the crime, allegedly. But for this story, that slave committed a crime. But let's say that there were some things around it that were put into place where he was put in that scenario or something, and didn't have all. He just felt like he was represented. He wanted, let's say the black man wanted, or the slave, excuse me. That was there were white slaves too, I believe, and other slaves. So I don't know why I said that. I'm sorry. The slave, doesn't matter his skin color. The slave, Jesus. Just the fact I just said that is just pissing me off. The slave is doesn't feel like he's being represented in the laws of the court, which I think was an actual thing. But and the reason he felt, just think about this. The reason he felt like he wasn't represented right was because he didn't understand the proceedings. He didn't understand what was said. There was a lot of slaves that didn't know how to read and write. So I'm just making this a great example because he couldn't read and write. But they, as a judge and jury, decided to say he could read and write, and everything he did understand. Now, think about that. Is that okay? Is that right? Is that a right thing to do to somebody, to say that they do understand for them? They do understand, but it's too hard, you know? It's too hard for, I guess, to make a decision in a split second to decide if somebody is or isn't competent. And that's why we do that whole competent test at the beginning of a trial, to figure out if they are competent or not. And he has been proven to be competent, so everything that the judge is doing is technically in the right. But again, I'm just putting that out there just to, like, you know, devil's advocate, you know, kind of thing. I'm not saying he's in the right or anything. I'm not saying any of that. I don't even saying that I'm on his side or anything like that. I'm just raising the question that he has raised because it wasn't necessarily addressed.
I still don't understand. So how can we even proceed?
Mr. Brooks,
if I'm telling
do
you I don't understand?
what that I'm asking you to be
No, I
quiet?
don't. No, I
Mr.
don't.
Brooks, please stop interrupting
And for the
me.
record, I don't consent to being called that name, Your
You
Honor.
clearly hear me, sir, because if you didn't hear me, then you wouldn't make that statement.
Hearing
I know
and
you can
understanding
hear me.
is two different things.
I know you can hear me, sir. I'm asking
Hearing
you
and
to
understanding
stop
is two different
interrupting
things.
me.
Again, that's a win for Brooks. She just reiterated, I know you can hear me. And he said, I can hear you, but I'm not understanding. That is another win for the Brooks. Because she just rehashed her answer and didn't explain that. And she should be explaining the fact that he does understand and why he understands. And that would shut him up, I feel like.
I'm not trying to interrupt you, but you're gonna, at some point, you're gonna ask me my opinion of what's going on, and then when I tell you I don't understand, it's gonna be taken as me trying to delay or trying to do this or trying to do that.
I will explain why I'm bringing up instruction 315.
And I'm not gonna understand your explanation.
Well, you can't say that if you haven't heard what I have to say.
Didn't you try to do this earlier, before lunch?
But I need to clarify something, because 315, which is the instruction that has it's titled, Defendant Elects Not to Testify. I had it in there. However, that instruction should really only be given if requested by the defendant. There has been no request made. And obviously this court made a finding that he
I gotta pull that back. I was
his
just,
right
finishing
to
something.
Ask me.
It's titled. Mr. Brooks, I completely disagree with your characterization of the proceedings. That it would not be proper for this court to include 315 in the instructions to the jury. Does the state have any position on that? Mr. Brooks, I completely disagree. It's titled Defense.
What the fuck?
Mr. Brooks, I completely disagree with your characterization of
I
the
gotta pull
proceedings
this up
this morning.
so I can.
While it is true that you did not.
Can we even proceed?
Mr. Brooks,
if I'm telling you I don't understand?
what that I'm asking you to be
No,
quiet?
I don't. No, I
Mr.
don't.
Brooks, please stop interrupting
And for the
me.
record, I don't consent to being called that name, Your
You
Honor.
clearly hear me, sir, because if you didn't hear me, then you wouldn't make that statement.
Hearing
I know
and
you can hear
understanding
me.
is two different things.
Okay.
I know you can hear me.
She
sir.
should have said,
I'm
I know you can understand me because you answered the question with an answer that is relevant to the question. So I know you understand me. She shouldn't have said here again. I think that obviously it's just a little nitpick. I'm just nitpicking. But the actual live is, I think is live. We're not live anymore because I keep pausing. But I think they're doing not deliberations, but they're the jury has gone back and is checking their paperwork now, I think. But I'm trying to get this back up on my thank you.
Hearing and understanding is two different
interrupting me.
things. I'm not trying to interrupt you, but you're gonna, at some point, you're gonna ask me my opinion of what's going on, and then when I tell you I don't understand, it's gonna be taken as me trying to delay or trying to do this or trying to do that.
I will explain why I'm bringing up instruction 315.
And I'm not gonna understand your explanation.
Well, you can't say that if you haven't heard what I have to
That
say.
is true. That, Brooks, that's an L. That's a big L for you to say that. That kind of throws your credibility out the window because it sounds like you're just not even going to try to understand.
Do this earlier, before lunch?
But I need to clarify something, because 315, which is the instruction that has it's titled, Defendant Elects Not to Testify. I had it in there. However, that instruction should really only be given if requested by the defendant. There has been no request made.
For what exactly?
And obviously this court made a finding that he forfeited his right to testify. And absent Mr. Brooks requesting that instruction to be in, I believe it would not be proper for this court to include 315 in the instructions to the jury. Does the state have any position on that?
Your Honor, I did look at the notes that are associated with instruction 315, and I would agree.
What is 315? I'm not
Mr.
sure.
Brooks, do you have any position on whether this court should include instruction 315 in the jury instructions to the jury.
I don't even understand what 315
What?
jury instruction is.
It's
I don't-
entitled Defendant Elects Not to Testify. I'll read it for you. It's my notes, meaning my materials, my jury instruction book says to be given only if requested by a defendant, and it reads as follows. This is the actual language of the instruction. A defendant in a criminal case has the absolute constitutional right not to testify. The defendant's decision not to testify must not be considered by you in any way and must not influence your verdict in any manner. So my question is, do you want this instruction read or modified in any way?
You just said I got a constitutional right not to testify or to testify.
Right.
I didn't make either one of those decisions, so I don't understand
The
what
jury
you're asking.
instruction
I didn't make any of those decisions. That's an interesting. They're gonna have to like rewrite these laws. With him doing this, I feel like they're gonna have to rewrite some laws to make it so that it's more clear that if you don't answer the question, that's either yes or no or something.
is typically read when a defendant does not testify. In every other case that I've had, the decision on whether to testify was a decision made by the defendant personally. In this case, the court found that you forfeited your right to testify based upon your conduct. That is the ruling I made this morning.
How did I make that decision though? I didn't.
My question to
never say
you
yes or no.
He's basically saying I didn't make any decision here. You're basically, I mean, you're making all the decisions for me. That is not in my constitutional rights.
I never
Do
say
you
yes or no.
want the jury instructed
Which
that
I don't know. He
your
shouldn't have
si-
any constitutional rights if he's a sovereign citizen. Of course, they didn't tell him he's a sovereign citizen, so he has to look at his constitutional rights.
silence must not be considered by them in any way and must not influence their verdict in any manner?
What do you mean my silence? My Fifth Amendment right?
Correct. I'm not hearing a request from you to have the jury
Because
given
I don't.
this instruction.
I don't understand why you're asking me the question, Your Honor. I never decided to or not to testify. I never
understand
decided
that,
either
sir.
way.
I understand that.
So how can I answer that? I don't understand why. I don't understand.
We are now at the moment where we are discussing whether the jury should receive an instruction specifically on you not testifying, irrespective of the reason for that. I believe I could modify this instruction to simply say a defendant's silence or a defendant not testifying should not be considered by the jury in any way and must not influence their verdict in any manner. Are you making such a request for a modified instruction?
I don't understand the question because I never decided to or not to testify.
I
never
understand.
said-
I understand what you're saying, sir. I
never
really
said
do.
it.
But in light of the court's decision that you forfeited your right to testify,
How did I forfeit
do you
something I
want
never
the
said?
jury to be instructed something to the effect of they cannot use your silence, meaning they cannot use you not testifying against you in any way?
I don't understand because I never made a decision not to or to testify.
Right, and he keeps saying that, but she has made it clear at this point that she would rewrite the 315 to favor what she's saying, to favor what he is saying, which is that he didn't speak. She'll write it in there that he didn't speak instead of he chose not to testify. She'll write in there that he chose not to talk and to not let that weigh the decision of yes or no here. So it's stupid for him to be like, I don't understand, but at the same time, it's not stupid for him to say he doesn't understand, because if he's clearly gone through the whole trial making this assumption of not understanding on these certain points, then that could be used as an appeal later, which obviously is his plan.
I'll ask you one more time, and if you do not answer with a yes or no, I will take your answer of not answering as you are not making a request for a modified instruction.
How can you do that,
Do
Your
you
Honor?
want this court, sir, to instruct the jury in any way regarding you not testifying in this
It's
case?
an
I don't
interesting
understand.
question. How can you do that if I don't answer? How can you have the authority to tell me that that's a no if I didn't answer the question? What do people think about that? What is the verdict on that? on somebody arguing that fact. There's got to be some kind of verdict on that in the public eye. I would think so. Remove junk.
And the question.
All right, then based
I don't
upon there has
understand.
not been an express request made by Mr. Brooks to give either 315 as it's in the standard or pattern jury instruction, or a modification as this court has suggested, 315 is to be taken out of the jury instructions.
How are all these decisions being made without me understanding?
Then I have looked over the verdict forms, and other than really what I would describe as some consistency in how phrases, whether there's all caps, not all caps, but
All caps.
what we call the sentence
Like the name that was
capitalization
on
for
there,
the
all
charges. For example, I want to be consistent with how I spell out first degree intentional homicide or first degree recklessly endangering safety. There was just sometimes it was capitalized, sometimes it wasn't. So we're looking through all of that to be consistent. I want to make sure the word information is capitalized, since that's the charging document, things of that nature. It is my practice, and you should be aware, Mr. Brooks, that I always put the not guilty verdicts on top when I hand all the verdict forms to the jury. And by that I mean it's by charge. So they're collated, if you will. So the not guilty followed by the guilty for counts 1 through 76.
You said it's collated. What do that mean?
So I put the not guilty, then the guilty for count 1, followed by the not guilty and the guilty for count 2, and so on and so forth, all the way through the remainder of the counts that are alleged in this case, which in this case total 76.
I don't understand. So how?
I looked at the special questions
Will you
that
answer
are
that,
on the
Ron?
guilty verdicts only. They did appear to be proper. Again, just some grammatical things, but I believe those are all accurate.
Can I go to the other courtroom?
state.
Since you don't have to answer any questions, but I have to answer all, can I just go to the other courtroom?
Not at this time.
Why not? I keep telling you I don't understand these proceedings, and you just keep running right over my rights, like you don't even hear me saying anything.
Attorney Basie, are you handling the verdict forms?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Can I go to the other courtroom, please?
Are you waiving your right to be present in this courtroom?
I'm not waiving anything.
Then the answer is no.
I'm making a request.
Then the answer is no.
Then how's it? So what? You gonna try to force me to interrupt and do all this so you
I'm
can
not
make the
forcing you,
record
sir. I'd
and
like
make
you
it
to be
seem like
here.
I forfeited something that I came in here as soon as we got on the record and made a request to not be present for these proceedings. But when I'm making a request to avoid the drama and all that,
I think it's interesting. I think this is very interesting he actually has a good point. I mean, not really a point, but definitely something that needs to be fixed in the justice system itself. If anything, that's what he is showing in all of this, is that there's something that needs to be fixed. And that something would be this scenario where the person is acting this way. I don't know. Obviously, she's taking the stance of ignoring him at this point, and that's not going to help, I think, in the long run. I don't think. Obviously, she stated a lot of things, and she's probably just going to restate what she's already said. But he does have a point of the fact, if he really doesn't understand what waving, even if he didn't understand what waving his right is, and all that good stuff, then how could they let him be in the courtroom and make decisions for him if he doesn't agree with those decisions because he doesn't understand what is being said? Although it's pretty easy, it's not really in our culture to just say you're a liar and then put you away for it. But as a YouTuber and just somebody who's observing, I would say the reason why it's so controversial to the judge and why she's not acknowledging him is because he has shown that he has the capability of understanding the law. He understands reading certain laws to get what he wants across during the trial. He reads it off a piece of paper, and then she obviously disputes it or whatever. And then when it comes to time where he's stuck in a situation, he becomes stupid, it seems like. And it's pretty much a crazy coincidence for him not to understand some things but to understand others. But it is a possibility, I guess. Obviously, anything's a possibility when it comes to understanding and knowledge. But yeah.
Sir, the only one with the drama is you.
It's you too. You the big contributor to the whole thing.
Mr. Brooks, I have to preside over this case.
Yeah, you haven't been.
The thing about it is, he is actually right there. He's actually right. And it's unfortunate. And did you see her reaction? Her reaction was priceless.
Special questions
Will you
that
answer
are
that,
on
Your
the
Honor?
guilty verdicts only. They did appear to be proper. Again, just some grammatical things, but I believe those are all accurate.
Can I go to the other courtroom?
To no avail to get Mr. Brooks to answer simple questions. From the court will be
There
in recess
wasn't no
until
warning.
it's
I'm the
taken
one that asked.
over
So let's
to the other
make the record
courtroom,
correct.
and we
I'm
have
the one
the
that asked when
audio
we came in here, Your
and
Honor.
video working appropriately.
I asked when we came in here.
Oh shit. Whoops. I'm sorry, folks. I messed that up. I hit the wrong button.
When a defendant does not testify. In every other case that I've had, the decision on
There you
whether
go.
to testify was a decision made by the defendant personally. In this case, the court found that you forfeited your right to testify based upon your conduct. That is the ruling I made this morning.
How did I make that decision though? I didn't.
My question to
never say
you
yes or no.
is,
I never
do
say
you
yes or
want
no.
the jury instructed that your silence must not be considered by them in any way and must not influence
Just
their
watch
verdict
this
in any
lady's
manner?
What do you
reaction.
mean my silence? My Fifth Amendment right?
Correct. I'm not hearing a request from you to have the jury
Decided to or not to testify. I
I
never
understand
decided
that,
either
sir.
way. Your Honor, I never decided to or not to testify. I never
understand
decided
that,
either
sir.
way.
I understand that.
She's got some good
So how
reactions.
can I answer that? I don't understand why. I don't understand.
We are now at the moment where we are discussing whether the jury should receive an instruction specifically on you not testifying, irrespective of the reason for that. I believe I could modify this instruction to simply say, or a defendant's not instruction. I understand. I understood your right. Some use you not testifying again.
Or to testify.
I'll ask you one more time, and if you do not answer with a yes or no, I will take your answer of not answering as you are not making a request for a modified instruction.
How can you do that,
Do
Your
you
Honor?
want this court, sir, to instruct the jury in any way regarding
That's a good
you
question.
not
How can
testifying
she
in
do
this
that?
case?
I don't understand the question.
All right, then based
I don't
upon there's
understand.
not been an express request made by Mr. Brooks to give either 315 as it's in the suggested,
Decisions being made without me understanding.
then is like, for example, or first degree lies, some type of information, or not guilty verdicts on top, jury, and the not guilty count two, and so on and so forth. I looked at the, they did those
You don't have to answer any questions.
things, but verdicts only. They did appear to be proper. Again, just some grammatical
Where does it
things.
say
but,
it?
I believe
Oh,
those
I
are
wish I
all
hadn't hit that.
accurate.
Oh yeah, no, you're right there.
Can I go to the
Return
other
the
courtroom?
state.
Here it is.
Since you don't have to
Here it
answer
is.
any questions, but I have to answer all,
I'm
can
sorry.
I just go to the other courtroom?
I'll
Not
edit
this
this
time.
for YouTube.
Why not?
So just watch
I
this
keep
lady's
telling you I don't
reaction.
understand these proceedings, and you just keep running right over my rights, like you don't even hear me saying anything.
Attorney Basie, are you handling the verdict forms? Go ahead.
Can I go to the other courtroom, please?
Are you waiving your right to be present in this
I'm
courtroom?
not waiving anything.
Then the answer is no.
I'm making a request.
Then the answer is no.
Then how's it? So what? You gonna try to force me to interrupt and do all this so you
I'm
can
not
make the
forcing you,
record
sir. I'd
and
like
make
you
it
to be
seem like
here.
I forfeited something that I came in here as soon as we got on the record and made a request to not be present for these proceedings. But when I'm making a request to avoid the drama and all that,
Sir, the only one
Right here.
with the drama is you.
it's you too.
Look at her.
You the big contributor to the whole thing.
Mr. Brooks, I have to preside over the
Oh my goodness, bro, that's priceless. I don't think I can zoom in any further. That was a great reaction. Unfortunately, the unfortunate part
this case.
Yeah.
is he's right though. She has been contributing to the drama.
You haven't been impartial or fair yet.
Mr. Brooks, I have a question to
She
the
has-
state. I
that
ask
is
that
not
you
true.
not interrupt, and then I'll turn
It's
to
not
you
about
for
me
a response.
interrupting. It's
And if he knows what impartial or fair means, then he knows what she's asking, and therefore he's lying, which therefore puts into question everything he says, and which therefore just is not helping his case. Because if he is able to say that, it's clear that he understands the question that's at hand. But if when he says he doesn't understand, if he means that he doesn't understand what waiving his rights would do to the situation in the case, then I don't know. But if I don't know. It's hard to know. But from a general standpoint, people are going to look at this and say that he's lying. It's easy to see that people are going to see that.
about me attempting to understand. I've been saying that since we came in here.
So he has really good things that he does that would, if he played this right card, if he played the right card from the get-go and didn't burst out in anger, because when he gets angry, he wants to prove to him and to everybody that he's smarter than the judge. And the fact of the matter is, he is smarter than the judge in a certain facet of the whole ordeal by the fact that he does trap her in his web of mental, like, he thinks he's smart, he's going to do this, and it's going to do this, and then he's going to be able to get here. When he gets tripped up, though, or something negative hits him and his defense is to one up, to be right, to prove that he's right. But the problem is it's contradicting his previous I don't understand, I don't really know what's going on defense that is also tied in with his sovereign citizen. If he's sovereign citizen and also had this defense where he doesn't understand because of this certain aspect of how she's asking the questions and doing what she's doing, then he could potentially get out of the situation. But because of his also complex to be right or to control the situation, he chooses to use certain words and certain phrases that totally prove he does understand certain things, which is going to make his credibility flush down the toilet.
Mr. Brooks, I
You
will
can't
respond
force me to
as follows
understand.
to that. You waived your right to counsel.
I didn't waive my right to no counsel. I
You
gave you the
waived
contract.
your right.
I did not. And you won't sit here and say that for the record because that is not
No,
what happened.
you are
No.
incorrect.
So we don't have the, do we have the
Your-
paperwork? Because I believe that I gave
his
you the
eyes.
paperwork back that you,
He's getting kicked out soon.
Mr. Brooks, you very
I gave
I
it to
accidentally
you
fast forward, but
altered.
he's gonna
Clearly-
get kicked out.
and did not waive it.
have been presenting a nuanced argument regarding
That
the
is
right
not
to
true, Your Honor.
counsel
That is not
versus
true.
the right to assistance of counsel.
That is not true.
That's a pretty sophisticated argument. That's why I believe you fully understand what's
I
going
don't.
on in this courtroom.
I don't fully
I
understand.
disagree
that's
with your
exactly what I was saying.
characterization
I disagree with your
of the
characteristic.
right to counsel.
She's just said it in like
You know that
2
you
words
accepted
or
the
less.
way that I
waived
gave it to
the
you.
entirety.
So you shouldn't have did that if you had questions of me not understanding.
I don't have any questions whatsoever.
You definitely
sir.
do, because I'm telling you right now I don't understand, and you still won't even acknowledge the fact that I'm saying in open court on the record that I don't understand something. I haven't waived anything. You made decisions today that I didn't consent to, that I explained I did not answer because I didn't understand, which is my right to say that.
Right, Mr. Brooks, you
It's
are
also my Fifth
interfering
Amendment
with the
right to be
proper and
silent.
orderly administration of these proceedings. I understand that you disagree with the decisions that I have made, but you aren't respectful of the decisions.
So he's basically also putting out the point, which is never going to fly with anybody, but technically, if everything was the way of the law and wasn't based on people lying, like I just said, that this isn't going to be based on their lying, but apparently it is going to be based on him lying, which is credibility, obviously, is a huge thing throughout a lot of cases and throughout people's lives in general. The fact is he's really going on the fact of the law and what he says in the lines and the law. And in the eyes of the law, if people didn't know you were lying or telling the truth, what he's saying is actually would be right. I feel like I might not be 100% right about that, but I'm pretty sure that what he's saying would be correct. But the fact that we're advanced enough to know that he's lying and he's just doing this to get out of a situation, it's never going to work for him.
You keep wanting to debate them and argue them. That is not the proper legal recourse at this time. I have asked you if you're willing to waive your right to be present. You indicated you're not.
Because
and
of
yet
the way
you continue
put it.
to
You said
interrupt.
waive. I'm not waiving anything.
Then that's why you're here until I make a finding that you, by your conduct, are forfeiting your right to be present.
Well, make the finding and kick me out. Make the finding and hold me in contempt, which is what you waiting to do anyway. That's why that courtroom been set up the way it has for the whole time, because at some point it's anticipated that I will be over there.
It's funny as hell. He's
Which
right.
is not impartial and which is biased. It's judicial misconduct.
Wow, he's right.
I stated from the beginning, sir, that the goals of this trial,
So you reading from
Are
the paper, or
threefold.
are you reading, or are you just citing what you know?
number one, sir, is during the evidentiary
Don't
phase of
interrupt
this
her.
was to control the presentation of evidence so as to ensure fairness and reliability of the criminal trial process.
And I offered
That
evidence that you
includes
didn't allow.
developing relevant facts upon which a determination of guilt or innocence can be made, what is sometimes referred to in the case law as the ascertainment of truth. There's an equal but secondary purpose related to efficiency and effectiveness. That has been my repeated use of 906.11 is what that would fall under. There's a third goal
So
of
it sounds like
everything
they
that
already
I've
have
done here,
a
and
law
that
for that.
is the courtesy and decorum in this courtroom, what I've sometimes referred to as civility. Of course, there are other goals as well, including protecting your rights, protecting the record, protecting the jurors.
Which is interesting for her to say, because they are not protecting his rights because he said he's a sovereign citizen, and I'm pretty sure they denied that, which means they're not at all acknowledging his rights at all if he truly is a sovereign citizen, which they probably think he's not, but I believe he is. I believe he actually had stuff online before this whole thing happened of being a sovereign citizen. I'm not sure. Or if it was just defense he's using. I'm not even sure. I'm not exactly sure the background of that. I haven't looked too much into the case. But if he is just using it as a defense, then they're obviously going to counteract that with the way she's counteracting it, right? Counteracting, I don't know if that's right, but the way she's defending or counterattacking, that's right. Counterattacking his claim is the way that they're doing it. Although if he has enough evidence to prove that he is a sovereign citizen and they didn't give him his rights as a sovereign citizen, which I'm not even sure. I'm pretty sure I heard somewhere that they didn't, but he might even be under sovereign citizenship at this point. I'm not sure. But if he's not, then it could. I mean, it's never going to work in his favor, obviously, because he's not going to hire a good enough lawyer. He's never going to have, somebody to get through the judicial system in a certain light like this. You would have to spend a lot of money, I would think. It's America, and it's probably more of, it's just a show, because obviously he's going to go to jail probably. There's no way he's not going to jail. So, I don't know. We'll see.
How have my rights been protected, Your Honor, if I can't even put evidence
Disagreement
into
with the
I can't
court
even make evidence.
decisions, sir.
Yeah, but how can I defend myself if I can't even present evidence?
But sir, you have not been willing to follow the rules of civility
But
and
that doesn't have
decorumness
anything
and
to do with my evidence.
It has everything.
I could have did that from the other courtroom too, correct?
Sir,
How does it have anything to do? Yeah, the thing is, that is a problem that I do have. But I mean, I don't have a problem with the way the court conducts themselves. I do not have a problem with that at all. I think it's really well done. I think it's under an eye of smart individuals that have worked for many years to perfect their laws and regulations and to actually give the rights of everybody as equal as humanly possible at this time for America, at least. And I think it's good. At the same time, what I don't like is the idea of not allowing anything else in the courtroom. I don't like that idea. I also don't like the fact that you're going to be judged differently if you wear a suit and tie, and you're going to be judged differently if you don't. That's like saying you're going to be judged if you're black and if you're going to be judged if you're white. It's the same idea. I don't like that, and I don't like that people can't represent themselves in the way they want to represent themselves. If it was truly a free country, then they would be able to do whatever the fuck they want, and then people would judge them on their behaviors anyways. You mean it's not hard to see if somebody is where they're supposed to be or not. Sometimes it is, but in this case, I wouldn't think it would be very hard. Obviously, just giving him the floor to argue, it could have put reasonable doubt in the jury's mind. So he's already produced his side in the courtroom, but the way they have handled it, I don't think is going to go down as is a great way of handling it.
To be present from the other courtroom, I should be able to present evidence from the other courtroom as well.
And you, by your conduct this morning, sir, are
I'm
not
saying-
willing to
I'm
answer
saying-
the
I'm
most
saying
basic of
totality.
questions
The
about
totality,
whether
Your Honor. The
you
totality.
have
I
a
not
witness
asked?
available.
Have I not asked? In fairness, have I not asked to admit evidence? Have I not asked more than once?
Mr. Brooks, you have not asked to present any evidence.
Yes, I
in a
have.
legally
You told me we weren't at the
cognizable
evidentiary phase.
manner.
How would I know that if you didn't answer
And
the
you,
question?
as your own attorney, you
That's the key here, is the fact that he is his own attorney, so he's supposed to know all this stuff ahead of time, which that's the thing I don't like is the fact that if he really is a sovereign citizen, then having an attorney for him isn't something that is feasible is like going to happen in his life or in his mind, because he doesn't even acknowledge those kind of people as you know, his protection, or he doesn't see it as them serving him. They see it probably as them serving themselves for their own interests. And so he would hire himself as his own attorney in that instance, which then would put him in these situations right here where he has elected to be his own attorney. So therefore you should know the proceedings, because that is the rules of attorneying and all that stuff in the courtroom. But the fact of the matter, that's why I'm saying I didn't like you can't be yourself, is in the courtroom, and they denied that for him to be, I'm pretty sure they denied that for him to be a sovereign citizen. So yeah, it's hard to say.
proceed at your own peril sometimes.
That
Whether
has
you have
nothing
a
to do
full
with me
understanding of the
presenting
rules of
evidence.
procedure and rules of evidence or not. And
That
I
has
made that
nothing to do with me
abundantly
being able to
clear.
present evidence.
So, Mr. Brooks,
Nothing
this is your
I
final
presented has
warning.
been able to be admitted into
I am
evidence.
turning to the state for a discussion of the verdict forms. If you interrupt me or them again, then I will make a finding that you forfeited your right
Make the
to be
finding.
present,
Make the finding.
and you will appear from the neighboring courtroom.
You want me to appear from the neighboring courtroom?
I don't.
Just let me go.
Attorney Basie, go ahead.
Just let me go.
I felt that all the verdict forms looked good. I did ask your
This is
clerk.
ridiculous.
All right, he's interrupted. He's forfeited his right to be here. He's chosen to do that despite the warning from the court. Will be
There
in recess
wasn't no
until
warning.
he's
I'm the one that
taken
asked.
over
So let's
to the other
make the record
courtroom,
correct.
and we
I'm
have
the one
the
that asked when
audio
we came in here, Your
and
Honor.
video working appropriately.
I asked when we came in here to
Madam
be
Clerk,
present
we'll
from the
have
other
to do it by
courtroom.
Zoom because we may have to utilize the share screen in order.
We don't have to utilize no serious screen because I'm not going to participate in no proceedings that I don't
the
understand.
documents.
I told you I don't understand
We're
a
in
million
recess until
times.
we get the courtroom set up.
No, we don't have to be in recess. I don't agree to it.
Oh man. So yeah, they muted the sound again. He's probably still going off arguing. I'm not exactly sure what's gonna. He's obviously gonna show back up in the courtroom on the other side, and yeah, it's pretty tough here, I would say.
I believe you're referring to sub 2, which states the increased penalty provided in this section does not apply if possessing, using, or threatening to use a dangerous weapon is an essential element of the crime charged.
Charge, right? That's what I just read, Your Honor.
Oh boy, we're back.
Well, what's the state's response?
Using possessing or threatening to use a dangerous weapon is not an essential element of either first-degree intentional homicide or first-degree recklessly endangering safety. If it were, it would be one of the elements in the standard jury instructions, and the defendant can see it is not. This is different from a situation like armed robbery, which does require the use or threatened use of a dangerous weapon. So the penalty enhancer is correctly charged for those two types of crimes.
Any final argument on that, sir?
Yes. That's not what the statute is clearly saying. It's clearly stated. It does not apply if possessing, using, or threatening to use a dangerous weapon is an essential element of the crime charge. If there's no vehicle involved, where is the crime? It has to be an essential part of it to even be a crime. The alleged defendant is charged with using a vehicle to commit these crimes. If there's no vehicle, where's the crime? So it has to be an essential element of the crime. Otherwise, there's no crime. I think it's the essential element. If you read in the statute, it's the essential element. You can't just walk up to someone and quote unquote run them over. There has to be something used in order for this alleged crime to transpire, and that would essentially mean the quote unquote dangerous weapon. So without the
So now we're arguing the laws, I guess.
without the quote unquote dangerous weapon,
I'm sure
where's
there's
the
some
crime?
nuance to the
So
law
how can it be
where it's
charged
not
when it is
essential
the
because
essential
the essential
element
part
of
would
the
be
crime
like
charge?
his mindset or
Well, sir, I've listened to your argument. I've read the statute. I've looked at the elements for
other things
intentional homicide and
or
first-degree recklessly endangering safety.
It would
Neither
be like-
one of those crimes have as an element in it use of a vehicle. There are certainly many different ways that both of those statutes can be violated. While it's true that in this particular case, the use of the vehicle is the mechanism or instrumentality that's being alleged to have been used, but it's not the same as being an essential element of the crime. I think the armed robbery
the essential element I
crime
think
is a
they're
good
going to say
example
would be
of when you could not face
the
an
fact that
enhancer for
he-
use of a dangerous weapon.
the fact that he killed people based on their race, I think, which was I believe they're alleging that he killed people or attacked them with the car or the van or whatever based on the fact that they were white, and that's racism as well, I believe. I'm not sure I heard that somewhere. I haven't been following along 100%, but I'm pretty sure that's right. And if that is true, then a key element would obviously be motive of the crime. His anger towards white people and probably, I don't know, like probably social media. I don't know what else would be exactly. We'll see.
Weapon, because you can't have the crime of armed robbery without the threat or use of a dangerous weapon. And
That's the
so,
same argument in this, Your Honor. You can't have this alleged crime without the use of the vehicle. It's the same thing.
it's not an essential element of either first-degree intentional homicide or first-degree recklessly endangering safety. So I'll deny the request to strike the enhancement.
So again, I would think that the main thing would be first degree murder would be because he was planning on killing them because of his race, and he knew what he was doing ahead of time, and that would be a key element. And then for the reckless endangerment, it would be like what he said on Facebook and how maybe evidence of the fact that it's his car, that doesn't make it the essential element of the crime. The essential element would be that it is his car, I would think.
Answer for those reasons and find that it is properly before the jury for their determination.
I respectfully object to that, Your Honor.
What?
Understood. Do you have any other challenges to the verdicts you'd like to raise at this time?
Yeah, would that be, will my objection to that be noted for the record?
It is.
May I request a legal reconsideration of your ruling, Your Honor?
Denied.
May I request a written finding of fact for your ruling, Your Honor?
Denied. Just for the record, it's my understanding that the verdict forms were put in the garbage by Mr. Brooks and they remain in there. That was provided to me by the bailiffs.
May I respectfully request a written judicial finding of facts and conclusion of law for this issue, Your Honor?
You may request it. The request is denied.
For the record, may I respectfully move for interlocutory declaratory appeal on this matter?
This is not the proper court to grant such relief.
You can't do that. You have to do that after you're in jail, and that takes years and years.
For the record, may I move to stay these proceedings until this instant matter is adjudicated by a court of competent jurisdiction?
Your request is denied.
Based on what law or fact?
Your request is not based in law or fact, sir.
I just read a statute that it came from. My argument was based on a statute, a Wisconsin statute.
Your request is noted. Your objection to the court's finding and determination is noted. I decline to issue any type of written decision or stay pending appeal, noting there is no appeal that has been filed.
May I let the record show that this court will not allow the accused to adequately defend themselves in this matter?
The court's already made its findings regarding the forfeiture of right to testify and the forfeiture of the right to present additional evidence and testimony. I'm not going to revisit the same.
Which was not consented to. I never stated that I did or did not
Understand.
want to testify.
I understand.
So how can that decision be made on my behalf when I didn't say either way? What I stated was I didn't understand the questions being answered.
Sir, do you have any other questions or issues regarding the verdict forms?
Your Honor, are you making a judicial determination that you don't have to answer any questions?
I'm not answering those questions, sir, other than how I've already answered them.
Is that a judicial determination?
Sir, every decision I make is a determination by this court.
Is it a judicial determination?
Sir, I will ask you once more. Do you have any other issues
And I will
to
tell
raise
you once more, I don't understand the questions that you are asking.
Sir, do you have any other issues to raise with respect to the verdict forms?
I do not understand the questions that you are asking.
He has now
I don't
twice
understand.
not answered the question. I'll ask one last time and specifically advise him that his failure to answer the question will be taken by this court as a no. Sir, do you have any additional...
Under what law of fact can you say no?
Sir, do you have any additional issues to raise with respect to the verdict forms?
I do not understand the questions that you are asking.
All right, he has chosen not to answer other than by saying he does not understand the questions. He did not specifically answer with a yes or no. Therefore, this court takes that as he does not have any additional issues to raise with respect to the verdict forms.
That is incorrect. I stated I don't understand. You can't force me to understand something, Your Honor.
All right. Did the state have any other...
It is my
I'm going to mute him momentarily. Mr. Brooks, I'm muting you because I'm moving on to another topic. I understand you disagree with the court's ruling.
So, oh man, that was a hard one. His understanding and not understanding thing is very frustrating to hear. I can understand why the judge is reacting in the way that she's reacting to him. I don't know if there's an actual law. The question that he's raising, I'm sure there's some rule that she doesn't have to answer it. But at the same time, if there's no law in place for what he's asking, then it would stump the whole court proceedings, I would think, and that would make the jury definitely question if he's guilty or not. So she would have to steamroll through it, and then I would think that our lawmakers would have to change the law after this court case. That's what I would say. If that's the case, I don't know though.
But you need to respect the rulings with proper etiquette in this courtroom, which you are demonstrating once again you're not willing to follow. So I exercised my ability to press mute. Does the state have any other
And again,
requests?
It's not going to work in her favor because this man has obviously gotten under her skin. They've been together for too many days, but it's obviously gotten under her skin just by, you can see that she has a little bit of a smirk there when she said, when I press mute. I think that won't work in her favor.
As it relates to the jury
Probably
instructions,
won't even
I want
get
to
picked up,
kind of
but-
full circle back to that because I do need to approve of them.
Yes. We do not.
All right, Mr. Brooks, I'll ask you the same question. I will unmute. Do you have any additional requests as it relates to the jury instructions?
Yeah, I have questions related to all of them because I don't understand any of this.
My question was not, do you have questions, but do
And
you
my
have any
answer
requests?
my answer was I don't understand. And I've made several requests.
The requests are not related to the jury instructions, which is the phase of this hearing that this court is attempting to conduct with you and give you the opportunity to fully participate. Mr. Brooks is choosing not to answer my questions. I'm going to mute him momentarily, sir. I will ask you one more time if you have any requests as it relates to the jury instructions. I then will ask you if you approve of the jury instructions. If you do not answer those questions as it relates to the question, do you have any requests as it relates to jury instructions, I will interpret that as a no. And if you do not specifically answer the question about the jury instructions, I will interpret that as your approval. So first question to you is, do you have any, and you're unmuted, do you have any requests at this point as it relates to the jury instructions?
And I just said before, I said I do. I said I don't understand the questions. Of course I have questions if I don't understand.
So do you have any
That's common
requests
sense.
for any additional instructions that are
Yeah,
not included, or to remove any that are included?
Yeah, remove them all until I understand. I have the jury instructions that I have myself.
Remove them all.
What jury instructions do you have, sir?
So now you don't know I had jury instructions, and I told you this weeks ago.
What filing are you referring to, sir? If I've overlooked that, I will certainly reconsider, but I'm not
You
aware of a
overlook
specific jury instruction.
It seems like you overlook a lot, Your Honor.
Oof.
Can you point me to a specific filing?
Jeez.
So you have all my filings on file? Are you saying that you have my filings and they haven't been admitted into evidence?
Oh, my computer's not working.
Oh, now the computer's not working.
Oh man, this is not good.
Sir, please direct me to the specific filing that you're referring to that has a request related to jury instructions.
You just said you was referring to the filings, right? Did you just say that?
That's not what I said.
Did you just say what filings are referring to jury instructions? Did you or did you not just say that?
I said, do you have a specific filing you can refer the court to that relates to jury instructions?
So is your computer working or is it not working?
It's being a little temperamental, but I just can't use my search function. So if you can direct me to a filing, that would be great.
It would also be great for those filings to be admitted into evidence.
Sir, simply filing something with the court does not make it evidence during the evidentiary phase of a trial. There are rules of procedure and rules of evidence that govern that.
And you told me to make all my filings in writing.
Sir, I said if you had a motion, it needed to be put in
All those
writing.
were motions. All those were motions.
Sir, what filing are you referring the court to?
Look through all my motions.
Sir, it's not my job to advocate on your behalf. If you have
I
something
didn't
in
ask you to advocate on
particular,
my behalf.
Sir-
I asked you to do your job.
sir, if you have something, a specific request, now is the time to make it.
Well, how about this? I don't accept none of those jury instructions. I don't accept any of them.
Oh my
Any of them. And again, I'll tell you, I don't understand. Why do I have to keep saying this when it's clear that I don't understand?
Your Honor, I can inform the court that jury instructions were due, I believe, on August 30th.
Huh?
The state submitted their proposed jury instructions as well as the substantive instructions, and the defense indicated that they agreed with our filing.
Oh, boy.
So I don't believe that there's ever been a request for any different jury instructions than what have been filed with the court.
So what jury instructions are you referring to, or what document is being referred to on the alleged defendant's behalf? Because as we all know, I didn't obtain the discovery in full until the end of September. So there was documents that I didn't even know that existed.
That does happen.
Mr. Brooks, one final time, do you have any specific requests as it relates to the jury instructions other than your request that they all be struck?
And I'm telling you, Your Honor, I don't understand the question. I can't.
All right, then I will take his response that he does not understand, that he does not have any additional requests.
I didn't say
And
that.
they will be
I said I don't
approved.
understand.
They will be
can't-
approved and are.
No.
I'm going to have to mute
No.
him. They are approved as
Oh
been
my
drafted by the court and
God.
modified during the
Oh,
jury
no.
instruction conference on the record this morning and this afternoon.
This is not good. This is not good. I'm telling you, this is not good.
will once again review all of them just for grammar, just to make sure all of that is.
See, she lost her courtroom. I feel like she let him take control of the courtroom. You have the state stepping in and defending the judge here and giving her other information to try to get back control of the courtroom in the favor of the state. And you have her muting him, but then unmuting him. So the muting thing is really just a show of power at this point. And it's all it's not going good for the state and the judge at this point. If he was able to get a good enough lawyer and a good enough attorney, they could definitely argue a lot of the stuff that's going on here.
Correct. And provide a written printout of the final draft for the parties before we break for the day today. I am also approving of the verdict forms that have been previously submitted to the parties, just noting there's just a few grammatical things that need to be corrected, but the content and substance are there, and I've already addressed on the record any requests by the parties this afternoon.
No, Your Honor, I believe that the final copy that we've been working off of is appropriate.
Any comment about that, Mr. Brooks, or any statement?
I don't consent to being called that name, and I've just told you I don't understand these jury questions. I'm not going to know how they allowed to pass just because you feel that they should. When I'm telling you I don't understand them.
So then go to school,
would note that
understand
his-
them.
Not one of those jury instructions came from me. Not one. How's that fair?
What do you mean? They all came to him about an hour and a half ago.
Mr. Brooks, this court gave you the draft
Well, you didn't
of
give
the
me
jury
anything.
instructions.
You didn't
I
give
need
me
to mute
anything.
you because, once again, he's debating about things that I think are very clear on the record. This court provided both the state and Mr. Brooks with a written printout, 107 pages
Right.
long, of the jury instructions it was considering.
See, Mr. Brooks, like I said, he has to have control of every situation. He can't let a single win go, and that is not working in his favor. It is making him go down in the drain in the overall situation here. Yes, he has wins here and there, like I keep pointing out, but in the overall scheme of things, his credibility goes down when he says things like that, because it is obvious that another moment in this case where he lost his cool and let his emotions get the better of him, he threw the papers in the trash and didn't look at them, and now he's disputing the fact that he didn't get that information when it was clear on camera and everywhere that he did get that information. He just chose to throw it in the trash, which I said would bite him in the ass later, and it obviously has.
In this case,
But I was talking it would bite him in the ass for
continued that
appeal,
discussion this
but
afternoon.
it's gonna bite him in
Prior to
the
breaking
ass
for
right
the
now.
lunch hour, all of the verdict forms were printed off and provided to both the state and to Mr. Brooks. It is also true that when he was previously represented by counsel, the court had some specific deadlines related to jury instruction proposals, and the state reminded me that there essentially was not an objection raised regarding the proposal and the filing from the state. I had a brief opportunity to look through the record of the inmate communication forms that have been sent during this trial that are on file. I haven't seen anything that references jury instructions. I'm well aware that he has other filings, but I could not find anything related to jury instructions.
And unfortunately, I can see, and I mean, in this case, it probably won't matter, but just the complex that is at play here between the two players is obviously the judge and then him. She's obviously, it's her job, but just the whole, his filings, just the way that she says it gives the idea to the viewer and the people that are there that side with the state, that she is like already siding with the state, and what he has is basically irrelevant. And she's already made that clear, but I think that just respecting people in all aspects, I don't know what the hell I'm saying, will go a lot longer in a lot longer way than if you show your ability to agree with a person and make them their credibility less in the moment by showing your ability to be right in a situation by by showing that his work is kind of trash, like it's she's dismissing it almost in a way. Obviously there's a lot of tension, and this man is allegedly has done some terrible things, and it would be very hard to take a step back and be able to do that as a judge, I think. And she is doing a great job. I am nitpicking at the littlest things.
And any specific request that he is making or made during this case. So for the record, I am approving of the verdicts. I am approving of the jury instructions. And once again, before we break for the day, I will make sure to provide the parties with written printouts of both of the documents as they
What was the
now
verdict? I didn't even
stand.
hear the verdict.
Then there are a few other issues we need to go through.
The verdict for what? I'm not sure.
Attorney Basie, I think you brought these up prior to the break. Maybe it was Attorney Opper. in terms of scheduling
Go ahead.
and what I would consider other housekeeping issues, but go ahead and remind me once again of the issues you wanted to morning. So we'll start at 8:30 tomorrow morning.
And we'll be back tomorrow
The
morning.
first part of the instructions function, I have to balance victims zone.
I think that was it for that.
I see your arms waving. I'll get you in a second. That he's provided with that as well.
All right.
And you as well.
And then one final thing is the timing, and again, I don't mean to be disrespectful to Mr. Brooks or anyone involved in this matter, but should there be any guilty verdicts in this case, would you be intending to proceed to sentencing yet this week or at a future time?
You know, that's an interesting question because I don't know how many victims will want to speak. If we have time, I would certainly consider that. I mean, I have this entire week set aside yet. And I have Monday morning, but I have some other things Monday afternoon, and then I am not available the rest of next week. So it really just depends on the timing.
And the
I would
verdict?
need to know from both the parties whether they anticipate anyone speaking.
That's not okay in my opinion. You are the judge. You're supposed to be watching over the proceedings with the question and how it was stated. Obviously, that's the state's side, and she answers it, like obviously he's going to get convicted.
Speaking other than the parties themselves. Any family members?
Yes,
I don't think I need a PSI. This is a trial. This is not like a guilty plea. So, Mr. Brooks, I'll get you. I'm unmuting you. Go ahead. Go ahead. You're unmuted.
And since we're all making records to make you look bad, I think we should say for the record that one of the rights I have is to demand that the court places in evidence any unrevealed contract, statute, laws, rules, or information being used against me under the Sixth Amendment. So how come that hasn't been placed in the evidence?
What law are you referring to, sir?
I'm referring to my rights under the Sixth Amendment.
And what
My
case law
constitutional
says
right
you have a
under the-
right to do exactly what you just said you have a right to do?
The Constitution, Amendment 6.
Sir, that is very general, your statement. It's vague. There's nothing
So we gonna go
specific
what?
you have
What
referenced.
You want paragraph 2 or something like that? Is that what you want?
No,
Yes.
that's not what I'm saying, sir. You're making
Oh.
general arguments
Also-
that aren't based in fact
Yeah.
and are overgeneralizations of what the law requires as well.
What? He just keeps throwing
I
everything.
accept for value and return for value any documents in this matter. Since, it might be another record of what I'm doing, since it's always a record of what I'm doing. And I also have the right to ask, is this common law or admiralty law? Because judging by the gold eagle on top of the flag, it's some explaining that needs to be done. That is a military symbol. So is this a common law court or admiralty law court?
Mr. Brooks, I'm frankly not going to address these nonsense legal theories of yours. I'm muting you. They have been debunked. They are typical sovereign tactics that have no place in our judicial system. We are in recess. I'll see everyone tomorrow morning at 8:30. I'll just direct the bailiffs to wait until we have the verdict forms to give. And if it takes us longer
I don't
than 30
like that.
minutes, we'll make sure they're delivered to him in his jail today. Thank you, everyone.
I really don't like that. I mean, I'm not a sovereign citizen or anything. I believe in the American justice system, and I think that they do a great job for the most part. But I mean, obviously, there's mistakes that happen, and I think that in this particular situation, that if he is a sovereign citizen, then he should be recognized as what he thinks he is. It's 2022. I mean, I know it's not something that we want, because then it takes power away from the government, and that's that's something that obviously nobody would want, and especially Americans. I think the American government wouldn't want any of their power taken away. So they're not going to allow the sovereign citizen theory, and it probably would get him out of a lot of trouble too if he really did do what they're saying he did. Um, and if he did do that, then using that as a way to get out of trouble should be changed as a sovereign citizen at the core of being a sovereign citizen, and making it so that, which I already think is a law, that humans, as a human being, anywhere on any planet, on any part of the world, land, air, space, anywhere, that there should be, the legal right to be alive, because it's your legal right to be alive. You're alive, so it should be your legal right to be alive. And if somebody takes that away from you, no matter what citizen you are, you should be held accountable. But with that being said, I also think that his beliefs and way he wanted to do things should have been addressed in a better way than they have been. And that's just my hopefully fair take on it. I'm not. It's just my opinion. It's not that I'm trying to be political or anything about it. It's just the fact that what I see, and I get a feeling, and I'm like, it didn't really feel right. It was. Yeah, I haven't watched the whole trial, but if you're holding yourself to a higher standard in that light, then the way you conduct yourself in when he's screaming or not screaming should be the same way 10 days later. Obviously, humans, we get worn down as the situation grows, and it's really hard to, not snap, not get upset. So there's been a lot of things that have been said on both sides, and I don't think that. I think that the fact that you gave him enough time to speak as much as he's been able to speak, that in itself allows for the idea that sovereign citizenship is in what he applies to or is, and that could cause an uproar, not an uproar, but could cause some kind of backlash to this whole scenario. Obviously, we don't want any of that to happen, and hopefully it wouldn't happen, but I think that people don't really have the hindsight, the 2020 or whatever, but I think in this situation, looking out, you can have a better, or from looking in from the outside, you can have a better understanding and mindset towards what's going on. Again, hindsight is 2020, so it's hard to say right now. It just happened in any event, and his credibility, again, from time to time, I mentioned it, would have gone out the window with the fact of the whole honesty and not honesty kind of thing. And it seems like in the way when he does get upset, he handles himself in a certain way that complements the things that he's saying later, but they don't compliment them in a good light. They compliment them in a negative way towards the people watching, and probably the jury and the judge, obviously. And even if it's true, if he's being honest or not being honest about what he's saying, it's really how he's going to be perceived. Unfortunately, it's 2022. We're humans. We perceive things. We look at them and judge them, and we say we don't. I mean, the name of the name of the person leading this whole thing is a judge. Is called a judge. So it would make sense that somebody's being judged here. The only problem with that is he has a point. If he's not willing to do the official channels to present his case, there should be something that allows him to present his case. It shouldn't just be that oh, you didn't do it. We gave you ample opportunity to do it our way, and you didn't. So therefore, you need to go to jail. And you're crying. It doesn't matter what you say. You know, well, it matters what you say, but like, you know, it's, you know what, you hear what I'm trying to say? It's not that I'm saying he did anything right or wrong. Well, I mean, I'm not saying that he did anything right or that he is guilty or not guilty. I'm just stating the fact that if somebody's unwilling to cooperate, but actually but is willing to cooperate in a certain manner, I know that that there's things that come along with that, like manipulation. Somebody could be trying to manipulate their situation by the way that they present it, and people don't want that. People, that's why, you know, there's been laws and stuff so that doesn't happen, and that's why there is no place for it in the courtroom, like she said. But again, it's hard. It's really hard. You know, that is hard. It's a hard place to be in at that time, to be a sovereign citizen if he is, and it's a hard place for the government or the judicial system at that time to really answer those questions that are needing to be answered at that time. And so that's the case. That's what's going on. It's a little bit nutty, and we'll be back a bit later with the Bleach review, so stay tuned to that. And then maybe even later we might be doing more of the, well, we have to before the 27th or 8th, more of the Modern Warfare campaign. So a few more videos coming out here soon. Stay tuned. Thank you for watching. If you checked in today, always support me if you have time by hitting the like button if you're on YouTube, or following or subscribing on Twitch, Rumbler, and yeah. So thank you for tuning in, and I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your day. Peace.